नमस्ते, प्रणाम, सुप्रभातम टू ऑल। गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्र विस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुख पद्मादुनिश्रिता। गीता जयंती के आज विशेष अवसर पर मोरारजी देसाई राष्ट्रीय योग संस्थान, आयुष मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार के द्वारा आयोजित नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन भगवद गीता में आप सभी का बहुत बहुत हार्दिक स्वागत, वंदन, अभिनंदन है। हम आज के इस कार्यक्रम की औपचारिक शुरुआत संस्थान की परंपरा के अनुसार कलेक्टिव प्रेयर के साथ करेंगे। अब मैं संस्थान के श्रीमती सीमा सागर जी को सादर आमंत्रित करता हूँ सामूहिक प्रार्थना के लिए। श्रीमती सीमा सागर जी।
सभी को मेरा बहुत बहुत प्रणाम। सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं वहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शांति शांति। ओम ओम शांति शांति शांति।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैडम। इस सामूहिक प्रार्थना के बाद, जैसा कि हम सभी को विदित है, आज गीता जयंती का अवसर है और भगवद गीता विश्व में अपने श्लोकों के लिए जानी जाती है। तो मैं हमारे संस्थान के बीएससी योगा के स्टूडेंट्स को गीता पाठ के लिए आमंत्रित करता हूँ। बीएससी योगा स्टूडेंट्स।
गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्माद्विनिश्चिता। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुहा गोपालनन्दना। पार्थो वत्सः दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः। मामकाः किं कुर्वन् सञ्जय। यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीकृष्णयो भूतेः ध्रुवाणी मतिर्मम। तस्मात् यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मनेवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्य उच्यते। आपूर्यमाणं वचनप्रतिष्ठं समुद्रमापविशन्ति यद्वत् तद्वत्कामायं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे स शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामकामी विहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तसप्ताहबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर् मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्र कर्मणि बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम् योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्धसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते
Thank you so much, my dear students. Moving ahead, अतिथि देवो भव इस परंपरा का अनुसरण करते हुए आज के हमारे सभी विशिष्ट अतिथियों के स्वागत के लिए मैं संस्थान में सहायक आचार्य डॉक्टर खुशबू जैन जी को सादर आमंत्रित करता हूँ। डॉक्टर जैन।
सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। आज मैं आपके सामने श्री भगवद गीता सम्मेलन में स्वागत वक्तव्य के लिए प्रस्तुत हूँ। सबसे पहले इस कार्यक्रम में मैं स्वागत करना चाहूंगी हमारे विशिष्ट अतिथि श्री अखिलेश मिश्रा जी का। सर आयरलैंड के राजदूत के पद पर कार्यरत है। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है सर आपका। तत्पश्चात मैं स्वागत करती हूँ प्रोफेसर वीर झा जी का, जो पुणे विश्वविद्यालय में सेंटर ऑफ एडवांस स्टडी इन संस्कृत में निदेशक के पद पर कार्यरत थे। आपका पुनः हार्दिक अभिनंदन सर। तत्पश्चात मैं स्वागत करती हूँ प्रोफेसर संपन्नानंदा मिश्रा सर का, जो ऋषि विश्वविद्यालय सोनीपत में कार्यरत है। सर आज हमें कोर टीचिंग्स ऑफ भगवद गीता इनसाइट फ्रॉम श्री अरविंदो की दृष्टि से भगवद गीता के गुण ज्ञान को हमारे साथ साझा करेंगे। आपका इस कार्यक्रम में बहुत बहुत हार्दिक अभिनंदन है सर। इसके पश्चात मैं स्वागत करती हूँ डॉक्टर मीगा ढिल्लन जी, सहायक आचार्य लेडी श्री राम कॉलेज दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय से। मैम द रेलिवेंस ऑफ भगवद गीता फॉर कंटेम्परेरी साइकोलॉजी विषय पर प्रकाश डालेंगी। आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन है मैम। अब मैं स्वागत करती हूँ हमारे संस्थान के निदेशक महोदय श्री आई.वी. वासव सर का, जिनके मार्गदर्शन के द्वारा ही इस कार्यक्रम का क्रियान्वयन संभव हुआ है। अंत में मैं स्वागत करती हूँ सभी विद्यार्थियों, दर्शकों तथा इस कार्यक्रम से प्रत्यक्ष अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से जुड़े हुए सभी बंधुओं का। आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत, अभिनंदन इस कार्यक्रम में।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैडम। और साथ ही मैं इस क्रम में स्वागत करना चाहूंगा प्रोफेसर एनसी पांडा सर का भी। वो भी हमारे वक्ता के रूप में आज के इस कार्यक्रम में हम सबके साथ सादर आमंत्रित हैं। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है सर। पुनः सबका एक बार स्वागत, वंदन, अभिनंदन है। अब मैं आज के इस राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के आरंभीय वक्तव्य के लिए संस्थान के निदेशक महोदय माननीय डॉक्टर आई.वी. रेड्डी सर को सादर आमंत्रित करता हूँ।
Sir, you are mute, sir.
शांति शांति शांति। Sir Jasa and I colleague Professor Sadanand Mishra ji, esteemed scholar Professor Panda Saab, my friend in the Delhi University, Dr. Megha, and today is a chief guest, our esteemed colleagues in the External Affairs Ministry, Shri Akhilesh Mishra ji, who is going to join little late ago, and my colleagues in the institute, especially the coordinator of this national seminar, Dr. Arpit Dubey, Vanna, Dr. Kushbu, and all my colleagues in the institutes, and my student friends, and yoga enthusiasts who are joining this webinar through various social media platforms of the institute and also the ministry. Today, it's my privilege to host this national seminar on Bhagavad-Gita, the traditional text of yoga philosophy and practices, on the very auspicious day of Shukla Ekadasi of this Margashira month. And it's a very auspicious day for all the yoga lovers for two reasons. One is Gita is our Indian culture, it is our life. It is life itself. The way we have to live, everything has been narrated excellently to even to the core of the heart, which can reach to the common people. And thousands of commentaries from the ancient time till today, from the Acharya Trayas until today, many scholars are commenting on each shloka of Gita. So that's why every Indian, Gita is a household, and slowly in the modern days in the technology area, and slowly our life become very mechanical. We are forgetting these very basic philosophy and principles of healthy living, what Gita was conveyed long ago. This is the first thing, therefore, and every year, and we try to reach out to them as many people as possible, the message of Gita to the common people through our students who are they are going to become teachers. This is one thing. The second most important thing for me is it's a yoga text for me. So many people take Patanjali Yoga Sutra and is one of the best treatises, no doubt about it. But Gita is more close to the heart of Indian minds. Therefore, though it is, some people take it as a Dharma Grantha, that's why in the beginning for me, it teaches the principles of healthy living, how to live in the society, how to lead a good life. The philosophy and practices. It's not the philosophy, but I developed the technology, even the apps, on the basis of the shlokas of Gita. I will tell you in the later part. The second one is Gita is giving all the aspects, important aspects of not only jnana, bhakti, karma, dhyana, but also the various other aspects. We have, I found 128 names of kinds of yoga, names in the historical literature. If you go through Dhyana, Kundalini, so many things are coming up. But these are the 4-5 yogas. The fundamentals have been given. Only thing the scholars, instead of narrating them to the just a philosophy or the religious aspect, take out the science in it, the technology in it, so that the modern world is a world of technology and information. So I also learned like this in my childhood, but in the era of I'm sitting in the heart of the capital city, and now the whole world is looking at us, and I'm trying to adopt the technology. Therefore, there is a science, not only the philosophy, there is a practices based, you can convert them into technology, so that the principles and philosophy of Gita may have taken a new shape, but it has not gone from our life. This is the second aspect. That's why in all our courses, even if it is a short course of 1 week, we introduce Gita, at least a lecture or two. So therefore, this is the one thing I would like to tell all my student friends. Gita is our life. Gita is our India's living heart. Essence, I call it, is the soul. The second is it's a yoga text where it has taken all the principles of Vedanta. You can see the Sankhya, the Yoga, Karma, Bhakti, all these things you can get the rich knowledge. On this auspicious occasion, I don't want to take much time. We have a very learned scholars. I'm very happy that Dr. Arpit have got very great scholars today. Professor V.N. Jha is well known in the field, a former director, Center of Advanced Studies in Sanskrit, University of Pune, a very prestigious university. Where I come from, Dharwad University. And we have a great scholar. I stayed in Professor Krishnamurti, you may be knowing, in the Dharwad University. Professor Krishnamurti, I was very fortunate to stay at his residence and study in my college days. So like this, Professor Modak was my teacher, who taught me, because you are the very senior, you may be knowing all these legends of Sanskrit scholars who were visiting our yoga department in the 80s. I studied under the great people as guided, and that was the reason I'm here. And with those, my teachers, I also remember you, sir. My pranams to you all. Hearty welcome to you, sir. And today we have another 3 great speakers. Professor Sampadanand Mishra ji. So we work together in Indian Yoga Association. And he always, whenever Arvindo Ashram Parampara comes, I remember Professor Sampadanand Mishra. He is a Rashtam School of Public Leadership and Rishi Hood University, Sonepat, Haryana. And he's one of the speaker. And most importantly, we have our regular appreciating Professor Narsingh Charan Pandaji. He is coming from the Punjab University, a very great scholar of Sanskrit. And Dr. Megha Dhillon. She's a young psychologist and child psychologist, and very, very interesting. The child psychologist is talking on Gita. So we have a very, very eminent speakers. I am looking these talks from 2 angles. One is from the physical science and also the core of Indian philosophy. So these 2 always, if I say the Sankhya, I don't find anything new in physics. I am the student of physics. So the depth and dimensions which mentioned in Sankhya we are not getting in physics totally. Maybe in the years to come. Now we reach to the single dimension or quantum physics, and elementary particles, go on, but the infinite things has been mentioned in our Sankhya philosophy, but they were in the Sanskrit literature. Some of the literature over the years you might have lost. The scholars like Professor Jha, Professor Panda, Professor Mishra ji, all of us, it's our duty to collect these things and made available to the entire mankind. So on this auspicious occasion, I welcome you all. I also come in the absentia. Sri Akhilesh Mishraji, Ambassador of India to Ireland, who was earlier the Director General of ICCR, and he will join a little bit later. And once again, with these few words, I heartily welcome all of you. And now I request Arpit Dubey to take over next proceedings. Namaskar. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir. You are the guiding force of all these events. So now moving ahead. Keynote address. Before that, I would do a brief introduction of Professor B.N. Jha, sir. So most important introduction to Professor B.N. Jha, sir, is that he is my grand teacher of my teacher. Professor B.N. Jha has taught in the Pune University and retired in 2006 as the Director of Center of Advanced Study in Sanskrit. Professor B.N. Jha, sir, was the founder chairperson, Special Center for Sanskrit Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He is the author of more than 50 books, and he wrote more than 150 articles, research paper. He is honored by the numbers of academic institutions award like Mahamohopadhyay, Vachaspati, Pandit Sarvabhaum, Dilip, etc. And Professor Jha, sir, is a visiting faculty professor in many national and international universities. Most important introduction about Professor B.N. Jha, sir, is that he is a now very active teacher. He established a Rishi Rin Vidya Vatika, a non-profitable trust, and he is teaching so many Indian traditional texts which explore the different dimension of Indian knowledge system. So we are very much thankful to you, sir, that you accepted our invitation to deliver a keynote address on this National Conference on the Bhagavad-Gita. So welcome you, sir. Over to you.
So, thank you, Professor Vasavaredi, Dr. Arpit ji, and the entire team. I extend greetings of the day, Gita Jayanti, to all of you. It's a befitting event. As Professor Vasavaredi said, that Gita is our life. So it is celebrating life, celebrating Indian life. I should add that adjective because otherwise there may be Ativyapti, Abhyapti, or some dosha. Anyway, I have prepared something because the time shown in the program was around 20 minutes. So I have prepared something to be presented to you. So I will share my screen and present to you. मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। My esteemed colleagues and friends, uh, let me begin with this benediction to the Gita. Parthaya pratibodhitam bhagavata narayana swayam vyasena gratitam purana munina madhye bharatam advaitamritavarshini bhagavati अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवत् गीते भवद्वेषिणी। We all know that Indian tradition is one of the oldest traditions of the world. It's a life-centric tradition. Here, any activity, from a small activity to the great activity, whatever activity is performed, the ultimate aim of such activity is life. So the tradition is life-centric tradition. It's a highly reflective tradition. Nothing is taken as it is. Whatever is heard, the Upanishad says, Shrotavya, Mantavya, Nididhyasitavya. This is the guideline for our tradition. Whatever you hear, you critically reflect on that. Mantavya. Shrotavya Srutivakibhya. Mantavyascha Upapattivi. So apply logic, rationality, and then conclude, and then meditate. Nididhyasitavya. It is in this sense I say the Indian tradition is a reflective tradition. It did not stop at suggesting material achievements, abhyudaya, goal of life. There are two goals of life. One is called abhyudaya and the other one is apavarga or nishreyasa or moksha or nirvana. But they did not stop simply at abhyudaya. What is abhyudaya? Material achievements. And because they reflected upon it critically and discovered its limitations, and hence they could not recommend abhyudaya to be the ultimate goal of human life. And there is a beautiful analysis by Manu in the Manusmriti. Such statements are not quoted. No? It says that it is something like, that there is no upper limit. Najatu kamaha kamanam upabhoge na shamyati. Havisha krishna vartmaiva bhuya eva vivardati. The achievement, material achievement, is guided by desire, and no amount of satisfaction can satisfy desire. It is something like, here say, desire is like fire, and you go on satisfying, that means you're putting ghee into the fire. The flame goes up and up. And the flame will never stop and say, okay, enough, I am satisfied. And therefore, Indian tradition discovered this, that Abhyudaya cannot be recommended, cannot be theorized as ultimate goal of human life. And therefore, they went up to suggesting Apavarga or Nishreyasa or a moksha, fulfillment. So not achievement, but the goal of life is a state of fulfillment. And that is why Abhyudaya was rejected and moksha or apavarga or nirvana was suggested. This is what makes the Indian tradition different from other tradition, because it makes the tradition, it makes the approach holistic. And it is not that we are satisfied only with whatever little we gain with the achievements, but achievements should empower us to go for the ultimate goal of life, the higher and higher goal of life, and ultimate goal of life. And that is nothing but to discover yourself. It is in this sense, the Indian tradition is a reflective tradition. Gita is an essence of Upanishadic thoughts. And right now, at the beginning, some student recited this. Sarabo Upanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. So we should be thankful to Arjuna. Because of him, we got this Amrita. So, and that is the reason that this text has been incorporated as one of the three prasthanas, the Brahma Sutra, the Upanishad, and the Bhagavad-Gita. You can realize the place given to this text from this, calling it a Jnana Prasthana, one of the Jnana Prasthana. Bhagavad-Gita, I'm looking at it from psychology's point of view. It's a great handbook of counseling. It helps one find solutions of all problems in life. You meet a problem, you ask Mother Bhagavad-Gita, and she will give you the solution. Such a text is a text of deep psychology, deep Indian psychology. Even in this very life, it helps us in warding off all the hurdles that come in our way and go on marching to discover the ultimate goal of life. So if you look at it from the mundane point of view, it's a great book of counseling. It keeps you showing the way, giving advices, just like mother. And who can be a better counselor than God himself? The best counselor, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So rightly, why should you study any other Shastra? The verse tells, Kimanne Shastra Vistare Gita Sugita Kartavya. Just that also you heard. Because here the counselor is God himself. All that we hear from the mouth of God. And hence, take take God as the counselor, and who is getting counseling? Whom is he giving counseling? Arjuna. And who is he? His present state is, he represents any one of us. Any human being is Arjuna, represents any one of us, most confused and under the spell of depression. One moment I am happy, the next moment I am in depression. I feel there is a way, next moment I feel I am confused. This is the experience of one and all. And so counseling is being done to human being. Arjuna is just a case for study. And the entire report of study is presented in the Bhagavad-Gita. What does Arjuna tell? Swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. Oh Krishna, you are asking me to fight, and whom I see in front of me, all my kiths and kins, all my gurus, all my relatives, all my family, and so they are all my own people. And by killing them, how can I be happy? This is the normal feeling of any human being. And then ultimately, you know the whole, many of you have studied the entire Gita, and you know he presents all his case just to avoid his action of fighting. And finally he says, Eva muktva Arjuna sankhye rathopasthupa. He sat on the chariot, visrijya sasaram chapam soka sangbigna manasa. This is the state in which any human being can be. And then he keeps on thinking, what should I do? What should I listen to him and fight, or should I adopt inaction? I do not know. It is in this state Arjuna is, and finally he decides that I can't solve this. So he asked the counselor, Shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. I am your disciple, O Lord. Just you advise, what should I do? Eva muktva rishikesham gurakeshah parantapa na yotsaiti govindam uktva tushnim babhuva. He decided that I will not fight and kept quiet. And then what happens? After having seen Arjuna in this state, after having seen a human being in such a state, the kind, the Karuna Sagara, Krishna, he starts counseling. Tam uvacha rishikeshaha prahasanniva bharata. Here he laughs, he smiles. What a poor fellow. And continues counseling up to the end of the 18th chapter. If you take this entire as a report of counseling and the effect of counseling, Bhagavad-Gita, the entire, I think, a very deep discipline of psychology, call it Indian psychology, can be built, and we can claim that such a discipline no other culture can provide except India. Arjuna, after getting counseled, he comes out and gives he is totally a transformed person. So in 18th chapter, 73rd verse, Arjuna says, Nashto moha. Now, in the first chapter, what was his state? In the beginning of the second chapter, what was his state? Say, no, I will not fight. What am I to gain? And then finally, what he says, is it not that he is now a totally transformed person? So he says, Nashto moha, all delusions gone. Smriti labdha, all memory came back. Tat prasadat mayachyuta. Oh Lord, because of your grace, I regained all my memories. All doubts are over. Sitosmi gata sandeha. All doubts are over. And now he says, there he said, Nayotse, I will not fight. And now he says, Karishye vachanam tava. Is it not an example of total transformation of Arjuna? Can it not be taken as a transformation of any human being if he is allowed to pass through the path shown by Bhagavad-Gita? I think the time has come that our research must be directed towards this. Courses must be formed accordingly, and to be not because modern psychology is not able to go beyond physicality. I am happy that some psychologist is also sitting to deliver lecture on this. I have worked with great psychologists, and days we were, and it's not possible for them to go beyond physicality. But therefore they have limitations because they have all accepted the limitations of science. Science is engaged in a physical explanation, and that is not enough to transform any human being. It is not possible. And therefore, Arjuna, he has gone through this counseling path of Krishna, and now he is total transformation. From inaction, he did not want to fight. Now he says, Karishye vachanam tava. You ask me what I am to do, I will do. So for all negative attitudes have gone, and all have been converted into positive attitudes. So from inaction to action. This is how I look at Bhagavad-Gita today. So rightly, Professor Basavaguru was telling that we should have a program like this. This should be the program that the psychologists should adopt this text as a text for counseling. But for that, they have to be equipped because the text is in Sanskrit, and he takes the marks from different systems of philosophy. So a psychologist has to be trained in all these knowledge systems, and then only he will be able to cater to the need, do the counseling, the required counseling to bring about transformation. What brought about this transformation? A few points only I mentioned. The analysis of Bhagavan is that it is the lack of knowledge of reality. Arjuna does not know the reality, the fact, and that is the root cause of all unhappiness. And it is true with anybody. Misunderstanding, misconception, lack of knowledge, what we call ajnana. So ajnana is the root cause of all unhappiness. Arjuna believes that if he fights, he will be the killer. And then all papa, etc., will all come to him. And so many things he states. And not only that, those whom he considered to be his own mind, they all will be just gone, they all will be killed. But Krishna points out, this is not the reality. The reality is, neither you are a killer, nor they are killed. Yahenam vetti hantaram, yaschainan manyate hatam, Ubhau tau na vijanitaha nayam hanti na hanyate. Neither the reality, what you are, that reality can neither kill and nor can be killed. So neither you are going to lose anybody and nor you are going to be the sinner by killing them. So neither you can kill nor they can be killed. This is the reality. So you are under a illusion, and that is why you are in grief, in unhappiness. Najayati mriyate kadachit nayam bhutva bhavitar vanabhuyah ajo nitya shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane shariri. Goes on. The entire second chapter, you find that is telling that how what you are is the Atman, and that Atman is Aja, is not born, is Nitya, it is Shashwata, it is Purana. Nahanyate Hanyaman. Then what goes, what comes and goes is only Sharira. So Antabanta Imedeha Nityasyokta Sharirinaha. You go on checking all those statements, and he points out that you concentrate on the reality, what is Nitya, what is Anitya. So Nitya, Anitya Viveka, you do not have, and that is why you are suffering. So acquire that knowledge of reality, and you will be free from all unhappiness. Thus, O Arjuna, reflect on reality. What brought about this transformation? Krishna draws his attention to the duty. Then he takes up, okay, by some. Initially, perhaps it is difficult for you to understand this. And so you don't want to fight. Okay, but you are a Kshatriya and you have a duty. You are the administrator and you have a duty. And that duty you must perform. And therefore he draws his attention towards his duty and advises Arjuna not to indulge in inaction. So even from this point of view, I don't see any reason why you should not fight. So don't indulge in inaction. Akarmani. Karmannevadhikaraste. Focus on your action, your duty, your karma. Karma is duty. Karmannevadhikaraste. Mahafale. Don't focus on result. Mahakarma, don't become the cause of the result of action. Mate sangostu akarmane. Don't indulge in inaction. So, looking from the point of duty also, it cannot be supported that you should not fight. You must fight. The greatest wisdom of this yoga, that yogastha kuru karmani. So even being normal, performing normal activities, you can achieve the ultimate goal. How? You perform everything, but be in the pose of yogi. Yogastha kuru karmani. And what is that? Sangam tekpa dhananjaya. And keep yourself detached with the result. Siddha sadhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. That expertise in that, this kind of expertise, all cannot perform this. So don't become crazy. Don't become attached, because if you concentrate on the result, you are likely to become crazy. And therefore, just perform, just act as your duty. And this is something, a challenge for you, and you must accept this. This will result in achieving the state of, this is what is Sthita Prajna. And then he goes on, Arjuna asks them, Tell me how he behaves, how a Sthita Prajna talks, how he behaves, how he goes, and all that is behavior. You tell him, and then he goes on describing them. Arjuna wants to know how to recognize someone as a Sthita Prajna. And then in gist he says, Prajahat yada kaman, sarvan partha manogatan. He must be free from kama, desire. And he should be happy, he should be completely satisfied, feels fulfilled, a sense of fulfillment in yourself. Atmanyeva atmana tushta, sthita pragyastadocate. And all this will be possible when you have a control over the senses, which always drag you outside and shows you the result. And therefore, Vashehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. And this is what your yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So if you read each verse of the Bhagavad-Gita on one hand, and you start the Yoga Sutra on the right hand, you will be finding that you will be able to identify all the statements spread all over the Bhagavad-Gita, everywhere. And this kind of a research, this kind of an attempt is necessary today. And it is very, very nice. I'm very happy that from this angle, this seminar has been thought of and arranged. Root cause of all evils, therefore, is it? What a psychological analysis in that you can see. If you allow your senses to go out, and if he is in search of the phala result, then you are always thinking about that. So, dhyayataha vishayan pumsaha. You'll be always thinking about the vishaya of indriyas that will bring you before you. And what will happen? This will make you attached towards them. Dhyayatu vishayan pumsaha sangaha teshu pajayate. And after attachment, what will happen? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. And that will generate a desire, maybe even craziness. And then from that craziness, once you do not get, because if there is a desire, you always are after fulfilling that desire. So as Manu's is a fire, it wants satisfaction. Okay, the best thing the fire likes is ghee. So give it. If you do not get, oh my God, gets annoyed. So kama, if the desire is not fulfilled, it results into anger. So kamat krodho bhijayate. Krodhad bhavati sammoha, delusion. And sammohat smriti vibhramaha. You are confused. Smriti bhamshad buddhinashaha. And once you are confused, when you have lost your memory, then destruction of your wisdom. And once the wisdom is gone, buddhinashat pranashyati. That is what a beautiful psychological analysis. Why should it not be taken by the psychologist as a model to examine this desire, attachment, anger, delusion, loss of memory, all these things. Is it not possible to prepare a program with the help of the modern technology and make it available for use by the persons who require them? Is it not possible? Such things should happen. The remedy, so the diagnosis has been done and the root cause has been identified, and they are two, raga and dvesha. This is what Gautama in Nyaya Sutra 112, he says, dvesha, dosha. So, dukkha, janma, pravritti, dosha, mithya. It's the same analysis. Mithya jnananam uttarottarapaya tadanantarapaya tapavarga. As if they all have discovered the same reality. So Gautama, Nyaya Sutra, you have 112 saying that mithya jnana, starting point, as we found in Bhagavad-Gita too, just now we have seen. And immediately, if we have a wrong conception, wrong knowledge, ignorance, illusion, immediately that gives rise to your attitude formation. And that is raga and dvesha. So raga, dvesha, and then pravritti, accordingly your behavior. And then behaviors keep on leaving behind the residues in you. And in our theory of karma, it becomes responsible for your being in the cycle of birth and rebirth. So he says, raga dvesha viyuktestu vishayana indriyesh charan atmavashir vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. If you want to discover what you are in peace, you are peace. But that you can discover only when your entire faculties are under your control and you are free from this attachment and aversion. So this is what the remedy. Tasmat yasya mahavaho nigrihitani sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhya tasvagya pratishtita. This is the state of wisdom. So this is how counseling continued, presenting Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, etc., etc. And Bhagavan Krishna brings about the total transformation in Arjuna. And this is possible. This is just a case study of Arjuna. It can be any Arjuna, any human being in place of Arjuna. If he follows this kind of a path, is bound to get transformed. So Arjuna, who was not ready to fight, agreed to fight. He said, I shall do whatever you tell me, my Lord. Following the path of the Gita, one could acquire Atma and Atma Viveka, Nitya Nitya Viveka. And that is the reality. So once you discover this, could discover the reality, could get elevated to the level of understanding oneness. And the Lord says in so many words, Yogumam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati. One starts seeing himself in everything and everything in himself. Yogumam pashyati sarvatra, himself is the Lord. So the same Atman everywhere. So Yogumam pashyati sarvatra, one who sees me, Krishna says, everywhere and everything in me. Tasya ham na pranashyami, sachame na parashyati. Neither I will forget them, nor he will forget me. All become one. So could get elevated to even this level of seeing Lord everywhere. One starts seeing God everywhere in everything. This is the result of this kind of reflective tradition. Gita, therefore, is a great book of deep Indian psychology. It's a rare gift to humanity. It should form part and parcel of any education system that aims at promoting a strong feeling of humanity. Giving a place in education curriculum at the early age, not that after your hairs are gray hair, then you start reading the Gita. These thoughts are made available at a very early age when you start thinking. It can produce good thinking citizen and human beings. That is the power, that is the capacity the text has. Gita has kept on inspiring sages. Now the Shankara onwards, even before, all are so much inspired by the text. The philosophers from Shankara onwards, social thinkers, freedom fighters, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, you already know, many others, all alike for ages. It's a tremendous capacity, tremendous power to transform human beings at all times to come. So, friends, this is how I think we should look at the text. And this is how I think we should look at the text. And we'll try to plan how to bring these thoughts, as Professor Vasareddy said, with the help of modern technological tools. But it should be the part and parcel of the curriculum, education curriculum, right from the age where a child has started thinking. And from that onwards, he should be provided. And then if this happens, I think India will be altogether different in the world. And perhaps Manu's statement, again I remember, Etad Desha Prasutasya Sakashat Agrajan Manaha Swam Swam Charitram Sikshairam Prithivyam Sarvamanava. So we were leader of thoughts in one day, sometimes. Again, we will become the leader of thoughts if this is what is adopted. I think this is all that I could say today on this auspicious day. And I thank Professor Vasareddy, Dr. Arpit and his entire team for giving me this opportunity to pay homage to this tradition of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It is always a privilege to listen to you, and it was very enlightening and inspiring keynote address given by you. Thank you so much, sir, from our institute and from our ministry. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, moving ahead, now I would like to invite the first speaker of today's conference, Professor Sampadanand Misra ji. He will deliver his paper on core teachings of the Bhagavad-Gita, insight from Sri Aurobindo. Before moving ahead, I would like to give brief introduction of Dr. Sampadanand Misra ji. Dr. Sampadanand Misra ji is currently working as a professor at Rashtra School of Public Leadership, Rishi University, Sonipat. He also worked in so many prestigious institutions and universities. He published more than 17 books and 100 research papers and articles. Dr. Misra has spoken at various conferences, seminars, literary, religious festivals, both nationally and internationally, on Sanskrit, Indian culture, yoga, and education. In addition, Dr. Misra, as a devotee of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, is familiar with their writings and feel comfortable in delivering lecture on philosophy and practices of Sri Aurobindo's yoga. Dr. Misra has also received various awards such as President Award, Maharshi Vadrayana Vyas Samman in 2011 by Government of India, Senior Fellowship by Ministry of Culture, Government of India. So many more awards received Professor Misra, sir. So, sir, now you are heartily invited to deliver your lecture on the topic core teachings of the Bhagavad-Gita, insight from Sri Aurobindo.
Namaskar. Extremely happy to be a part of this and grateful to the entire team and especially Vasareddy ji. So, So my topic today is going to be the core teaching of the Gita, insights from Sri Aurobindo. Before I begin, let me make a prayer from the Gita, invoking Sri Krishna's presence to guide us. Om Vamadideva Purusha Puranas Tvamasya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam Vettasi Vedyam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tatam Vishwamanantarupa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Sri Krishnaya Yogeshwaraya Namah. In the Gita itself, before I proceed to speak about the core teaching from Sri Aurobindo's essays on the Gita, we need to ask this question: are we eligible or prepared to enter into the spirit of the teaching of the Gita? Let's see what the Gita itself says. In after delivering the entire teaching, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna that, look, Arjuna, never share this experience, this learning, this teaching to someone who does not have that inner aspiration to grow through this teaching. Never share this experience, this teaching to someone who does not have the Shraddha, devotion. Never reveal this or share this with anyone who doesn't have that inclination towards this text, doesn't believe in me, doesn't believe in the divine, doesn't believe in himself, doesn't believe in progress, inner progress, doesn't believe in Adhyatma. Idam te na atapaskaya na abhaktaya kadachana. The one who doesn't have that aspiration, who has not ignited that fire of that flame of aspiration within himself, who doesn't have that sankalpa, who doesn't have that shraddha, who doesn't have that tapas, who doesn't have that bhakti, who doesn't have this, anasuya, no envy, state of no envy, who doesn't have that shushrusha, the willingness to listen, who doesn't have that jignasa, the intense aspiration to know more and more, and most importantly, one who doesn't have control over his senses, and one who doesn't carry a calmness in the mind. If these are not there within us, then it is a vain attempt to deal with the text like the Gita. This indeed is the preparation that in order to approach the Gita and enter into its spirit, its teaching, we need to have that sankalpa, have that shraddha, have that aspiration. We have to become free from asuya. We have to have that great devotion. We have to have that complete control over our senses. One may have, one may not have, but aspiring sincerely itself is the way to enter into the spirit. Coming to why or what makes the teaching of the Gita great. And especially we are talking in the light of Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo considered the Gita as the text which has the power to liberate, which has led the humanity, which will lead to the humanity in its journey towards liberating itself from all kinds of limitations. Very aptly, Vasavradiji put it right in the beginning that Gita is all about life. Sri Aurobindo says, while speaking about Sanatana Dharma, and Gita being the very foundational text of Sanatana Dharma, what is this Sanatana Dharma? Sri Aurobindo says that Sanatana Dharma is something which has nothing much to be believed, but much to be lived. So if the teaching of the Gita is not lived in life, and when I study the Gita, like our association, and most of us we are here, our association with the Gita is right from our childhood. And on a daily basis, remembering the teaching of the Gita, some words, some verses, doing the Parayanam of at least one chapter of the Gita or the few verses of the Gita has been our tradition. Professor V.N. Jhaji very befittingly put right in the beginning that's the tradition. And the tradition is truly a tradition when it continues, when there is satatya, continuity. Then only it becomes a parampara. I don't know whether the English word tradition truly is the right translation for parampara. But here, the parampara means satatya, that unbroken continuity. And this is perhaps the only land on the earth, the Bharatavarsha, where the parampara of Sanatana Dharma is lived. It is because of our wrong system of education, because of our wrong system of nurturing, that India is suffering. Because of our slavery nature, imitating nature, that we are suffering. But the Gita must become the foundational text of everything that we do in the name of education. Sri Krishna, and especially when we come to discuss the Gita in the light of Sri Aurobindo, first thing I said that the importance of studying Sri Aurobindo's writings on the Gita, and especially essays on the Gita, or studying the Gita in the light of Sri Aurobindo is extremely important, because here, this is my personal experience, that while studying the essays on the Gita of Sri Aurobindo, with a concentrated mind, with an open mind, I truly feel the presence of the Krishna speaking his own words in a language which can be understood by the present humanity on a larger scale. When Sri Aurobindo comes out of Alipur jail and then gives his Uttarpara speech, anyone who truly loves India, loves Sanatana Dharma, who wants to understand what Sanatana Dharma is, what the core teaching of the Gita is, to begin with, one must read the Uttarpara speech of Sri Aurobindo. What a magnanimous speech! What a magnanimous speech! There he reveals that when he asked this question to Krishna, because Krishna was his guide, his mentor, his Ishta Devata. He asked, why did you bring me here? What do you want to achieve through me by putting me into jail? Because all my actions, everything has become suspended. Then he hears this inner voice that I have brought you for a higher purpose. And then at one point, Sri Aurobindo says, he, by he refers to Sri Krishna. He says, he placed the Gita in my hand. He placed the Gita in my hand and asked me to follow the teaching. This is where lies the importance that Krishna himself is handing over the Gita to Sri Aurobindo to follow its teaching. And Sri Aurobindo himself has said, while about his essays on the Gita, he says that the entire content of essays on the Gita is a product of the silent mind. That from that silent mind, or silent mind never questions, it opens of itself in that quietude, in that calmness, in that silence, in that peace. Whatever is received from the higher consciousness is noted down exactly, without any distortion, without any addition, without any subtraction. This is what is our Shruti Parampara. Whatever is heard, not someone saying and another person is hearing like it happens. Shruti in that sense is different. But here, one has opened up so much inwardly that one has developed this inner power of audition, so then the voice of the truth can be heard directly. That defines a rishi, that defines a kavi. That is why Kavaya Satya Shruta, like a Satya Shruta Kavi, Sri Aurobindo, in deep contemplation, brings out this message of the Gita through his essays on the Gita. This is where lies the importance of it. And the yoga of the Gita, he says, Sri Aurobindo says, that the yoga of the Gita, and very rightly it was pointed out in the beginning by the previous speakers, that Gita is a text of yoga. Vatsal Reddy sir made it very clear that Gita is a text of yoga. Though we refer to, whenever it comes to yoga, as Patanjali's Yoga Sutra or some other yoga text, but this is the foundational text where one finds a very large definition of yoga. And Sri Aurobindo says that the yoga of the Gita is a spiritual truth applied to the external life and action. Just in one line, how beautifully Sri Aurobindo summarizes and says, what is the Gita? He says the yoga of the Gita is a spiritual truth applied to the external life and action. And right in the beginning of the essays on the Gita, he also makes it clear that in our sampradaya, there is a sampradaya vada which has grown so much in this land, which has made us narrow. He says that if you want to enter into the spirit of the Gita, you need to become free from this narrowness. Free from this narrowness. That my teacher, my guru is the guru. My Shastra is the Shastra. What I know is the truth. What others know are prejudices, are opinions, have no value. This is the thought of what in our tradition, what the wise people of the past have said to us. These are the thoughts of the what do you call Laghuchetas. Udara Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a parinam of what? Ayam Nija Paroveti Ganana Laghuchetasam. Udara Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So what the Gita demands from us, I will deal with some of the practical aspects of the Gita which I myself have applied, I follow in my daily life, and it is that which helps us immensely being in touch with that supreme consciousness which has given birth to this teaching. So, the narrowness of our consciousness, the Laghuchetas, indeed is the root cause of all our problems. It can be discussed from the psychological point of view, spiritual point of view, yogic, dharmic, ethical, moral point of view. One agrees to this, that it is the narrowness of our consciousness. In our ordinary life, this is the Vedic truth, because Gita expands the Vedic realization, the realizations of the rishis, of the Vedas, of the Upanishads, and then puts it in a very practical term. So it is necessary again to understand the practicability of the Gita's teaching. It is necessary that we understand what is the core teaching of the Vedas and Upanishads. Veda Gita itself is Upanishad. It is Srimad Bhagavad-Gita su Upanishadsu, Yoga Shastra, Brahma Vidya. There is also Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is all about self-knowledge, world knowledge, and God knowledge. These three together forms the Brahma Vidya. One needs to know oneself. One needs to know the God. One needs to know the universe, what lies outside oneself. So the individual, the universal, and what is beyond, the creator, the supreme force. This makes the Brahma Vidya. And the Gita's teaching is practical in the sense that it translates the vision, the realizations of the Veda and the Upanishad in such a manner that one, while going through the teaching of the Gita, not from a very higher philosophical point of view, but from a deeper spiritual and practical point of view, one finds that this is the text which has immense power to liberate us from all our limitations. Because this limitation, this narrowness of our consciousness, which always binds us within the narrow, egocentric, desire driven consciousness of ours, which belongs to our external life. And this is where the problem becomes. So that's why Shankaracharya so beautifully says, Kvantar mukhatvam apahaya sukhasya varta. We do not experience happiness, though we want happiness, we desire happiness, we aspire for happiness intensely. Yet we do not experience happiness. The world is aspiring for happiness so intensely. No one does anything consciously to make oneself unhappy. With that intensity, we are aspiring for happiness, yet the world is not happy. Ask yourself, are you happy? Answer is clear cut no, I am not happy. Why? Because the happiness that we are seeking after is not the true happiness. Is not the true happiness. What is the true happiness then? The Gita is very clear. A single word of the Gita can transform. Jasir was talking about the transformation. How did this transformation happen to Arjuna, who started with Na Yotse, I shall not fight, and then he surrenders himself completely and then says, Karishya Vachanam Tava, you command, I execute. No question. Nashto Moha, Smritir Labdha. What a transformative power of this teaching. And very clearly, if we can contemplate, like it is a reflective tradition as it was mentioned by Jasir. What is to be reflected upon? What is to be contemplated upon? What is it that the nididhasitavya, mantavya, shrutavya, drashtavya? Ask, we contemplate on ourselves. Kvantar mukhatvam apahaya sukhasya varta. We're so much engaged in our external life the desire driven, that egocentric life, that we have lost all connection with ourselves. We do not know how to love ourselves. We do not know who we are. We do not know what happiness is, yet we are seeking after happiness. Analyze. When we reflect upon, we find that the happiness that we are seeking after is conditioned by many things. Always see, if we analyze, that's why Sri Aurobindo and the mother, they emphasize on self-analysis. They say that be compassionate with others, but be ruthless with yourself while analyzing, while examining. Be compassionate to others, but be ruthless to yourself. So strictly, one has to examine oneself. And then we find that it is the external engagement of ours, the desire-driven, the egocentric consciousness, which creates much narrowness. And that's what exactly happened to Arjuna. Why did he say na yotsye? And if Arjuna had not said na yotsye, even the Gita would not have been there. We're fortunate. We're happy that Arjuna could arrive at this state, so then the whole humanity has a teaching which can liberate. And the importance of Gita's teaching, therefore, Sri Aurobindo says, while speaking about the core message of the Gita, he says that one should first know about three things. First thing, the one who has given this teaching, the Guru, the divine Guru, the avatar, Sri Krishna himself, the Bhagavan. Then the second, so we need to know who this Krishna is, who this Guru is, why his avatarhood is so important in the whole history of the evolution of humanity, or human consciousness, or evolution of this whole creation. Then the second most important thing to know is this human disciple, the divine teacher, the human disciple. That's why Sri Aurobindo, dedicates so many pages dealing with these two, the giver of the teaching and the recipient of the teaching, the receiver of the teaching, the divine Guru and the human disciple. And then another important teaching is important aspect is the situation in which the teaching was given. The situation in which the teaching was given. If the Gita was spoken in some cave of Himalaya, it would have lost all its glories. It is given right in the middle of the battlefield. Before I conclude, because I can go on endlessly, and anyone can, but because this is such a text, so many acharyas, so many scholars, so many people keep commenting on it. There is no end to commentaries, end to explanation. This is where the importance of this text lies. But one important thing, what Sri Aurobindo says, that the giver of the teaching, the divine Guru, is the avatar himself. The divine manifesting in a human form for a specific purpose. And the avatarhood of an avatar lies in the fact that the action of an avatar is always in complete harmony with the truth that the avatar teaches or preaches. That's why Krishna says himself, Gita Jnanam Upashritya Trin Lokan Palayamyaham. If I am ruling, if I am taking care of, if I am doing anything, I follow the teaching that I have given to Arjuna, given to everyone. I do follow it letter by letter. Gita Jnanam Upashritya Trin Lokan Palayamyaham. the Karmavira, the Mahayogi, the Mahasansari, the Samrajya Sanstapaka, the Kushala Rajanitignya, Vasudeva, Bhagavan. Sri Krishna himself is the divine teacher, giving this teaching to the human disciple, Arjuna, as his name suggests that he is the light-filled, pure soul. Arjuna means white, Arjuna means light, Arjuna means sattva, Arjuna means straightforward. That is why. And the most important thing is that, as Sri Aurobindo says, he who chooses the divine is chosen by the divine. What a wonderful statement. He who chooses the divine is chosen by the divine. This is where Arjuna chooses Krishna, and Krishna is Arjuna's. He's completely opened himself up, and then this dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, the divine teacher and the human disciple, takes place. And both of them are the true hero warriors. And it did not take place in the solitude of the forest, in the cave of a mountain. It has taken place right in the middle of the Rana Bhumi, the battlefield. Why Rana Bhumi? When we contemplate on, I'll just take 2 minutes to conclude. So why Rana Bhumi, and what is the significance of Rana Bhumi? When we contemplate on the core teaching of the Veda, the Rishis of the Veda, Sri Aurobindo summarizes the Vedic teaching in four lines. This is the first realization of the Vedic Rishis, is that the world in which we live, in our ordinary life, in the ordinary earth, whatever light we experience, whatever truth or reality we experience, there is a truth, there is a light which is higher than the light that we see in this world. There is a truth which is higher than the truth that we experience here. Whatever we experience in this world, there is something beyond. The second realization of the Vedic Rishis is that if there is something higher which exists, it is discoverable. And every man must make sincere effort in finding out the way to have access to that higher truth, higher light, that higher world. Then the third realization, and the most important, is that he says there is a constant battle which is going on within every one of us. Constant battle. Battle between what? It's a battle between the forces of darkness and the forces of light, between the devas and asuras, the Daivasura Sangra, between the falsehood and the truth. And man must make effort, sincere effort, in order to have victory over the forces of darkness, and then possess light, possess the truth, possess the true happiness. And in this battle, Sri Aurobindo says very beautifully that the man must keep the God as his friend, as his comrade. This is where the realization of the rishis, that you must make the gods, the godheads, as a constant companion if you want to have victory. There was a beautiful, very small story. It won't take few seconds to narrate it, which was very popular over internet. That an elderly person, he was playing with his grandchild, and he looked very gloomy. And the child asked grandpa, "Why are you looking so gloomy today? You are such a joyful person, but you look to be, very gloomy today. What happened?" So the grandpa said that, "Look, there is a battle going on in me." There's a battle between what? Between whom? It's between asuras and devas, between the forces of darkness and the forces of light. between falsehood and the truth. The child is not interested in all these things because all these words are very high funda words for him. So he simply asks, "Tell me, Grandpa, whose is the victory? Who wins the battle?" And look at the answer that the elderly person gave. He said that the victory is of that force to whichever force I give myself. If I am with the gods, then victory for me is of the gods. If I am with the asuras, the victory for me is of the asuras. Therefore, the beauty of our tradition, the beauty of Sanatana Dharma, and the beauty of the teaching of the Gita is that it never imposes anything on anyone. The choice is ours. That is why, after giving the entire teaching of the Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Yathechasi Tathakur. I have given you the whole teaching. It is up to you. The choice lies with you. Fight or not fight. But the divine does demand a surrender from us. It does demand a surrender from us. That is why Krishna says at the end, this is the culmination of Gita's teaching. It begins with Samarpana, ends with Samarpana. Shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. This is the beginning where Arjuna surrenders himself completely with the bhava of Shishyatva. And the Guru takes him into his entire consciousness and transforms him. And then at the end, he does demand a complete surrender. He says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. The beauty and importance and greatness of this text is such that it ends with this greatest assurance to us that aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Ma shucha. Every time we contemplate, and at a personal level, every time I repeat this verse, I have tears in my eyes. And this is what my consciousness says. What an assurance. What an assurance. What else is needed? If we can completely believe in this assurance of the divine, then the Gita, as Sri Aurobindo says, as the mother says, has immense power to deliver us from all our limitations, because this is his word. Name bhakta pranashyati. He takes care that his bhakta, whoever is surrendering himself, na pranashyati. There's no pranashana. So with these words, I bring an end to my whatever I wanted to share. And then again, immensely grateful for every one of you for inviting me and for being in such a presence of such elderly people and eminent people. So seek all your blessings in my journey. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very enlightening address by you. It is always my pleasure, and I always love to listen about Sri Aurobindo. And one of your quote is very inspiring for me. Make God your constant friend, and that will solve all the problems. And God is the divine power which is filled with the power, prosperity, possibility, and peace. Thank you so much, sir, for such a amazing lecture on insights of Bhagavad-Gita and the view of Sri Aurobindo. Thank you so much.
Dhanyavad.
So moving ahead, it's time to invite our second speaker, Dr. Megha Dhillonji, to deliver his lecture on the topic, the relevance of Bhagavad Gita for contemporary psychology. Dr. Megha Dhillonji has pursued her doctoral degree in child psychology from Delhi University, and now she is a teaching faculty of very famous college of Delhi University, Lady Sri Ram College for Women since 2010, and she is also the convener of IQAC cell of LSR. She published many research papers, articles, etc. in the field of psychology and different systems of knowledge. Alongside teaching, she conducts research in a number of areas from the domain of health psychology, positive psychology, social psychology, and most important, she is also working to create the better future for economically disadvantaged youth in our country. So, Dr. Megha Dhillonji, we welcome you, and it is requested to you kindly address on the topic the relevance of Bhagavad Gita for contemporary psychology.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And
Arpit ji,
Yes, sir.
Arpit ji,
Yes, sir.
I need leave. So please allow me to
Thank you.
leave. So, Basab Guru, thank you, thank you.
Sir. Thank you very much for your gracious presence, sir. We are blessed.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it was wonderful listening up long.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry for leaving because I have to leave.
Understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Megha Dhillonji, please.
Welcome. Megha.
thank you so very much, and a good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be here in such an esteemed gathering. I have heard such knowledgeable scholars, and that it has humbled me. And today I will make a modest attempt to share my knowledge with all of you. I know that Professor Jha has to leave right now. Interestingly, I was going to pick up many threads from his lecture, and it was very enlightening to listen to him. So, although, sir, you will not be here, you have left a wonderful imprint, and I will continue the saga that you have started, sir, by connecting
Raji.
Gita
Excuse
with
me,
psychology.
excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, today I will be conducting this discussion with the PPT. So I will put that on and then I will start. Please give me a moment. I hope the PPT is visible. Yes. Okay. So I think we are here to talk about something very interesting. We are going to connect something deeply ancient, a philosophical text like the Bhagavad-Gita, with something which is relatively modern, contemporary psychology. And we will see how beautifully the ancient and the modern can connect. Modern psychology is not a very old discipline. It formally came into being only in 1879. So much younger than the Gita. Nevertheless, let's explore this connection today. And there are scenes from the Bhagavad Gita that many artists have represented very beautifully, their own representation. So I will keep representing art associated with the Gita also as I speak of it. This art helps me identify with the Gita, imagine the moments in the Gita. I will share with you the structure of today's discussion. My discussion is not going to be very long. I will try to keep it comprehensive and focused. We are going to begin this talk with what is psychology. Interestingly, there are a lot of myths around psychology. There are a lot of misconceptions around what this subject is about. So today we will just try to understand what it is. We will also go into the purpose of psychology. Why does it exist? What are its goals? Further, we will come to what roles psychologists play. What is the primary focus area of psychologists? After having a brief discussion on each of these, then I will come to the core idea of today. How can the Bhagavad Gita help modern psychology? What can I, as a psychologist, take away from this beautiful philosophical text? The one thing is there that over a period of time, Indian psychologists have increasingly realized that they must embrace the values of Indian culture when they work with an Indian population. At one time, when I was a student of psychology, we never studied Indian philosophical systems in our class. But now that I teach psychology, I have the pleasure of discussing yoga philosophy as well as Advait Vedant in my psychology classes. And I think that has been the biggest inspiration for me giving this lecture today. So the openness is definitely increasing. That's a very positive sign. Chaliye, we can now come to what is psychology. So over the years, the definitions of psychology have changed. But the one that I'm going to share with you now is the current most widely accepted definition of psychology. For all we know, the definition will change someday again, but the current definition goes like this. First of all, psychology calls itself a science. It is considered a scientific study. It must adhere to scientific principles. It is the scientific study of human as well as animal behavior and cognitive processes. So, two focus areas: behavior and cognitive processes. A simple word for cognitive processes is the mind. Now, we can distinguish between behavior and mind. So, if you see what is behavior, everybody engages in behavior. We animals, behaviors are basically our actions and responses. Talking, jumping, walking. Behavior is overt. It can be directly observed. I can observe your actions through my senses. On the other hand, is this intangible entity called the mind. The mind is basically that network of thoughts and feelings that we have. हमारे ख्याल, हमारी सोच, हमारी भावनाएं. Now, thoughts and feelings cannot directly be seen. I cannot see your thoughts in the same way that I can see your behavior. The only way for me to potentially know your thoughts and your feelings is to infer them from your behavior. So I watch your behavior and I try to figure out what thought or what feeling is going on in your mind. So behavior can be observed and the mind's contents have to be inferred. Amongst the various kinds of sciences, psychology is considered a social science. Social over here means people centric. The thrust of the social sciences is the study of people and what people create. People create society, samaj. People create culture, sanskriti. The study of people, societies, and cultures is intrinsic to social sciences like psychology. And one thing, psychology is not mind reading. कोई भी psychologist किसी और का mind नहीं पढ़ सकता. There is no such thing which is possible in the world. If you are a human being, you cannot read minds. You have to watch other people and spend time with them to know what they are thinking. So psychology is not mind reading. Now, if we move further and we wonder, what is the purpose of psychology? What are the goals that this discipline pursues? Why bother to have such a discipline? So this is a very positive aspect about psychology, that psychology exists and pursues the goal of individual well-being, not only individual, but also collective. Psychologists do their work so that people can live with a feeling of happiness and a feeling of being healthy. Another purpose of psychology is to give us tools, strategies, techniques by which we can lead more well-adjusted lives, where we can feel that we have the strength and stamina to cope with life and to enjoy the different colors of life. And there are many hats that psychologists wear. Psychologists are therapists and counselors. Psychologist researcher भी हो सकते हैं. मेरी तरह टीचर्स भी हो सकते हैं. आजकल साइकोलॉजिस्ट ने सिर्फ क्लिनिक्स में नहीं लेकिन कम्युनिटीज में भी काम करना शुरू कर दिया है. दैट इज व्हाट वी रियली नीड. क्योंकि हर कोई क्लिनिक नहीं आएगा, पर अगर साइकोलॉजिस्ट कम्युनिटी में जा सके तो ज्यादा लोगों के पास उनकी सर्विसेज पहुंचेंगी. साइकोलॉजिस्ट और साइकाइट्रिस्ट में अंतर होता है. A psychiatrist is a doctor. They have an MBBS degree. They can give medication. They have specialized in psychiatry. Psychologists are not doctors. They do MA and PhD, and they are more involved in counseling rather than giving medication. एक और चीज हमको देखनी थी कि साइकोलॉजी का प्राइम फोकस एरिया क्या है. The prime focus area of psychology is mental health, which has unfortunately been ignored as compared to physical health. Mental health, what we call मानसिक स्वास्थ्य, it is as important as physical health, but इसको शायद वो अहमियत नहीं मिली है जो मिलनी चाहिए. और साइकोलॉजी के लिए आज इंडिया में क्या challenges हैं? What is this field grappling against? The first challenge for psychology is very limited mental health professionals. हमारे देश में enough doctors नहीं है, enough psychiatrists नहीं है, enough psychologists नहीं है for such a large population. और दूसरी बात है stigma. अभी भी हमारे समाज में अगर आप साइकाइट्रिस्ट के पास जाएं या साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाएं तो वो बुरी बात मानी जाती है. इन चीजों से एक स्टिग्मा जुड़ा हुआ है, while there should not be. अगर आप ऑर्थोपीडिक के पास जा सकते हैं तो आप साइकाइट्रिस्ट के पास क्यों नहीं जा सकते? अगर आप फिजिकल हेल्थ अपनी ठीक करवा सकते हैं तो मेंटल हेल्थ क्यों नहीं ठीक करा सकते? डायबिटीज के लिए दवा ले सकते हैं तो स्किज़ोफ्रेनिया के लिए दवा क्यों नहीं ले सकते? तो इस स्टिग्मा को बहुत ज्यादा हटाने की जरूरत है. तो ये है अ बैकग्राउंड ऑफ व्हाट साइकोलॉजी इज. Okay. Now let me come to another question. This is a deeply subjective question, and I think any one of us who want to read the Gita or who have read the Gita can ask ourselves this. Why do we read the Gita? हमने पहली बार ये टेक्स्ट क्यों पढ़ा? कोई मोटिवेशन थी, कोई गोल था, किसी ने फोर्स करा? इंटरेस्टिंगली अगर आपके घर में कभी गीता नहीं थी, फिर भी लिविंग इन इंडिया यू विल हियर ऑफ इट, यू विल सी इट इन एवरी बुक स्टोर, यू विल सी इट ऑन टीवी. एवरी इंडियन नोज द भगवत गीता. व्हाई डू वी रीड इट? कारण कई हो सकते हैं, but many people will tell you that their main motivation of reading this text is to get insights about life. Life can be confusing. Life can be tough. It can be about many challenges. And there are questions in our mind. ऐसा क्यों है, वैसा क्यों है, क्या करूं, क्या ना करूं? And to find those answers, we move towards a guru or another form of guru, which is the Bhagavad-Gita, in the hope that this profound text will give us what we are looking for, direction in life. It will answer the ultimate question of what is the meaning of our life. Now, how can this profound text help modern psychology achieve its goals? This is our core question for today. ये कहीं एक जगह पे मुझे लिखा हुआ नहीं मिला. ये एनालिसिस इजी नहीं है कि हम एंशिएंट और मॉडर्न को किस तरह कनेक्ट करें. But now that I have been studying psychology for 18 years, I sit and reflect on the nature of psychology, और मुझे गीता के साथ उसके कनेक्शंस दिखने लगते हैं. So while I was preparing this talk, I found at least 3 ways in which Gita can support modern psychology. One of the things that the Gita really helps us understand in the context of modern psychology is therapy and uske processes. Therapy, as you know, is a process that a psychologist carries out with their client जिनको कोई भी mental health की तकलीफ है. Therapy short term हो सकती है, long term हो सकती है, and one has to undergo training to be a therapist. Gita can tell us a lot about the therapeutic process. दूसरा, psychology पढ़ाते पढ़ाते, और कई बार I have discussed the Gita in my classes, I realized that the Gita has a very powerful message for us as far as mental health is concerned. मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के लिए एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट मैसेज है गीता में, उसकी बात करेंगे. एंड दूसरा, गीता में कुछ वैल्यूज रिफ्लेक्टेड हैं जो मॉडर्न साइकोलॉजी के लिए बहुत जरूरी है. तो अब इन तीन चीजों के बारे में मैं आपके साथ बात करूंगी. Let us look at how the situation that takes place in the Gita between Arjuna and Lord Krishna can be compared with a modern therapeutic situation. Here I draw on what Professor Jha was explaining. गीता, भगवद गीता का बैकड्रॉप क्या है? वो किस्सा शुरू कहां से हुआ? जो बैकग्राउंड है, that is of Arjun's deep emotional turmoil. Before the start of the war, अगर आप अर्जुन का इमोशनल स्टेट समझने की कोशिश करें, इट इज अ मिक्स ऑफ मेनी नेगेटिव इमोशंस, नॉट जस्ट वन. एक नेगेटिव इमोशन नहीं, देयर इज अ फ्लरी ऑफ नेगेटिव इमोशंस गोइंग ऑन विद हिम. किस तरह के? सॉरो है, उदास है अर्जुन, एंजाइटी है, दैट मीन्स वो घबराया हुआ है, फियर भी है, यानी कि वो डरा हुआ है, और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट गिल्ट है कि उसको शायद उन लोगों को के साथ हिंसा करनी पड़े या चोट पहुंचानी पड़े जिनकी गोद में वो पला बड़ा, जिनके साथ वो पला बड़ा. एंड जस्ट लाइक यू एंड मी, जब आपका इमोशनल टर्मोइल इस हद तक पहुंच जाता है, इट पुशेस यू इनटू अ स्टेट ऑफ इनएक्शन. इतनी डीप इमोशनल टर्मोइल में अ ह्यूमन बीइंग टेंड्स टू get confused and thus freeze. We can say that Arjun in that moment was in a state of being frozen. So the whole backdrop of the Bhagavad-Gita is emotions. And emotions is exactly the core concept of modern psychology. दोनों का core subject is the same. एहसास, भावनाएं, emotions. और आज तक थेरेपी की सिचुएशन में क्या होता है? थेरेपिस्ट क्या करता है? They too see people who are going through deep emotional problems like Arjun was. Maybe because of role conflict, maybe because of ethical questions. सही क्या है, गलत क्या है, कैसे समझूं, कैसे करूं? So the situation that Lord Krishna and Arjun found themselves in is comparable to the situation of when therapy between a psychologist and a client begins. आगे देखते हैं. अगर आप नोटिस करें, अर्जुन reached out to Krishna for help. He told Krishna that he is confused, doesn't know what to do. This, I think, was a very positive action on the part of Arjuna. Arjuna did not run away from his emotions. शर्माया नहीं उनको लेकर, ना अर्जुन ने छुपाने की कोशिश करी, भागने की कोशिश करी. You know, men are often taught, don't cry, don't look scared. रोना भी आ रहा है तो दबा दो, छुपा दो, तुम आदमी हो, तुम कैसे दिखा सकते हो कि तुम्हें डर लग रहा है? But Arjun abandoned those false notions of masculinity and he reached out to Krishna for help, which I think is very beautiful, because we must all do that when we are in trouble. Why not reach out for help? And then look at the attitude that Krishna helps him with. Krishna's attitude is the biggest learning point for me as a therapist. Krishna helps Arjun unconditionally, wholeheartedly, empathetically, and non-judgmentally, with only one motive, कि अर्जुन की कंफ्यूजन दूर करनी है. एंड अर्जुन को इस पॉइंट पे लाना है जहां वो अपना डेजिग्नेटेड कर्म, अपनी ड्यूटी कर पाए. Interestingly, if you see the ideas with which modern therapists are trained कि आप एटीट्यूड क्या रखो क्लाइंट की तरफ, वो एग्जैक्टली वही है जो कृष्णा ने उस मोमेंट पे रखा था. अपने क्लाइंट की मदद करो, non-judgmentally, empathetically, unconditionally. क्योंकि वो तुम्हारे पास sincerely आया है to seek help. Don't turn them away. कृष्णा कह सकते थे, अरे अर्जुन तुम बिना किन बातों में पड़ रहे हो, चलो युद्ध लड़ो, आगे बढ़ो, टाइम मत वेस्ट करो. But he didn't do that. He stopped time so that he could help Arjun. And that sincere sentiment of helping must be there in each psychologist's heart. So this is exactly the mental health message that I was referring to. Arjun is teaching us that when you are in distress, जब दुख है, जब परेशानी है, reach out to someone. इसमें क्या शर्माने की बात है? Whether you are a man, woman or transgender, you need help, ask for it. कोई जिंदगी के साथ अकेला नहीं कोप कर सकता. एक इंसान बताइए जिसने अकेला कोप करा है? No one. Even Krishna needed other people. Krishna भी तो अकेले थोड़ी रहते थे. And Krishna teaches us that help someone in distress, don't ignore them. Especially if it is a mental health problem और वो परेशान लग रहे हैं. और अगर हम देखें, ये सिचुएशन रिजॉल्व जरूर हुई, बहुत ब्यूटीफुली रिजॉल्व हुई. इसमें लॉर्ड कृष्णा का भी हाथ था और अर्जुन का भी हाथ था. जो रेजोल्यूशन हुआ अंत में, उसमें दोनों लोगों की कंट्रीब्यूशन बहुत जरूरी थी. कृष्णा had to try many techniques to help Arjun. Even a therapist has to try many techniques to help their client. पहली चीज आप सजेस्ट करें और सारी प्रॉब्लम उससे सॉल्व हो जाए, ऐसा नहीं होता. We have to try many techniques. Krishna did also. दूसरी बात ये है that he answered, Lord Krishna answered all of Arjun's questions and doubts. That is something also that a modern therapist has to do. आपके clients कई आपसे सवाल पूछेंगे, उनको आंसर करना is your duty. और अगर आप आंसर नहीं जानते हैं तो टेलिंग देम दैट कि नहीं, मुझे नहीं मालूम ये वाली बात, तो that is also your duty. क्या पता आपके क्लाइंट आपसे पूछे भगवान होता है या नहीं होता है, बताओ मुझे, एंड यू विल से मुझे नहीं मालूम, ये तो तुम्हें खुद सोचना पड़ेगा. सो बी ऑनेस्ट, बी ट्रांसपेरेंट लाइक कृष्णा वाज विद अर्जुन. ये बात अच्छी है कि इस रेजोल्यूशन में both Krishna and Arjun contributed their respective efforts. अगर लॉर्ड कृष्णा ने अपनी विजडम शेयर करी तो अर्जुन ऑल्सो हैज टू बी क्रेडिटेड कि उन्होंने उस विजडम को रिसीव करा. अगर वो रिसीव ना करते, अगर वो कृष्ण का रूप ना मानते, तो कहाँ रेजोल्यूशन होता. So for every therapy to be successful, the therapist and the client have to both contribute and work hard. कृष्ण एंड अर्जुन वो बोथ विलिंग पार्टिसिपेंट्स, दोनों रेजोल्यूशन चाहते थे, दोनों का इंटेंट पॉजिटिव था. और अगर मैं देखूं, अल्टीमेटली आई थिंक आई विल से दैट कृष्णा के नेचर को अगर क्लोजली स्टडी करा जाए, ही इज अ मोटिवेशनल फिगर फॉर थेरेपिस्ट्स या एनीवन इन अ हेल्पिंग प्रोफेशन, even doctors, even nurses. Krishna gives us the message through his demeanor that keep trying. When you're helping someone, keep trying. Keep varying. एक चीज नहीं चलती है तो दूसरी चीज ट्राई करिए ना. Also, don't expect instant success. किसी का माइंडसेट बदलना चुटकी बजाने के बराबर नहीं है, टाइम लगता है. इसलिए बी पेशेंट एंड रिमेन काम. लॉर्ड कृष्णा कभी खफा नहीं हुए अर्जुन से. इवन व्हेन अर्जुन वाज रेजिस्टिंग हिज एडवाइस इन द बिगिनिंग, जब अर्जुन थोड़ी देर बाद माने, पर कृष्णा नेवर लॉस्ट हिज कूल. ही वाज पेशेंट, ही वाज काम, एंड दैट इज द की. If we see, there are many things in the Indian knowledge system that modern psychology can use. Bhagavad-Gita promotes a yogic attitude. It promotes the practices of meditation. There is research after research conducted by Western scientists and Indian scientists to show कि mental health के लिए meditation और एक yogic attitude कितना useful रह सकता है. चाहे आप डिप्रेशन की बात करें, स्किज़ोफ्रेनिया की बात करें या एंजाइटी डिसऑर्डर्स की बात करें. द अमेजिंग थिंग अबाउट मेडिटेशन, जिस भी रूप में आप उसको करें, इज दैट इट इंक्रीजेस योर सेल्फ अवेयरनेस. ये भी मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए बहुत अच्छा है. एंड एज अ स्टूडेंट, क्योंकि हमारे ग्रुप में कुछ स्टूडेंट्स भी हैं, it increases your attention span. Many people come to psychologists with the problem that they cannot focus. That means आपका attention span बहुत छोटा है. Meditation can help you increase that. Now, modern Western psychologists have also started to study one central value of the Bhagavad Gita, which is non-attachment. I will show you an example of a research which shows कि non-attachment का attitude आपका psychological well-being बढ़ा सकता है. And the fourth application of Bhagavad Gita for modern therapy is in the field of grief management. Many people come to psychologists because they are not able to deal with grief. And usually that grief is the loss of a loved one. Khaskar when you lose a child. The teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the messages of the Bhagavad Gita can really be used in the therapy setting to enable people to cope with grief, give them a way of remaining hopeful even through such a difficult time, because the Gita teaches us, Lord Krishna teaches us, that it is only the human body that dies. The soul is immortal and indestructible. For a woman who has lost her young son or young daughter, this can be a very powerful thought that the soul of their young child will always live on. So that way, Gita has a very important role to play in grief therapy as well. ये एक रिसर्च है, मुझे लगा मैं दिखा दूं. This is published in January 2019. It is done by a group of Western researchers. Their research is called Growing by Letting Go. चीजों को जकड़ के ना रखना, just let them go and see how much you grow. What is this letting go? It is non-attachment. In Western researchers ने देखा है how non-attachment and mindfulness, which are core to the Gita, can lead to advanced psychological development. Non-attachment is positively correlated with self-transcendence, with wisdom, with self-actualization. Self-actualization is the process of becoming the best possible version of yourself. So self-actualization means to work towards being the best possible version of yourself. And इस जर्नी में नॉन अटैचमेंट की वैल्यू बहुत आपके काम आती है, क्योंकि नॉन अटैचमेंट प्रिवेंट्स यू फ्रॉम गेटिंग स्टक इन लिटिल थिंग्स ऑफ एवरीडे लाइफ. As you study the nature of life, you realize that the only attitude worth having is that of non-attachment combined with compassion. It is also found that non-attachment and mindfulness are positively correlated with each other. जो लोग non-attached होते हैं, वो mindfulness practice करते हैं, और जो mindful होते हैं, they can adopt a non-attached attitude towards life. And these are the findings of not even, a study conducted here. It is Western researchers, interestingly, who are getting interested in the value of non-attachment for psychological growth. I think it's a compliment for us. कोविड के एरा में भी भगवत गीता की इंपॉर्टेंस पहचानी गई है. The author of this last study that I am going to share with you is केशवन, जिन्होंने इंडियन जर्नल ऑफ साइकाइट्री में 2020 में एक आर्टिकल पब्लिश करा, where the author has said that the Bhagavad Gita can help us build resilience at a difficult time like a pandemic. Resilience क्या है? It is a very important concept in psychology. Resilience का मतलब होता है the quality of bouncing back. आप सोचिए, जिस तरह एक तूफान आ रहा है, पेड़ जो है वो बेंड जरूर होता है, लेकिन जैसे ही वो तूफान रुकता है, वो पेड़ अपनी पोजीशन पे वापस आ जाता है. Humans also need this quality. मुश्किल वक्त आएंगे, आप झुकेंगे, शायद गिर भी जाए, शायद चोट भी लगे, पर आप ऊपर खड़े होकर दोबारा आगे बढ़ेंगे. ये है रेजिलियंस. भगवत गीता में जो योग के बारे में लिखा है, that can give us resilience at a time like this. जो ज्ञान योग का पाथ है, It can help us remember that हमारी जो सारी knowledge है, we have to use it to move from an I to a we mode. अगर हमें कोरोना सर्वाइव करना है, we need to use our knowledge to come from an I mode to a we mode. जो कर्म योगा का पाथ है, it teaches us selfless action, जिसकी जरूरत है अभी, so that we can cope with the pandemic. Only doctors don't have to engage in selfless action. हम सबको selfless action करना है, चाहे उसका मतलब हो अपने ट्रैवल प्लान्स को लिमिट करना या पब्लिक में मास्क पहनना. And जो राज योग की philosophy है, that of course teaches us a healthy lifestyle and meditation, which also contributes to better coping in a time like this. तो चाहे हम हजारों साल पहले की बात करें या आज के कोविड टाइम्स की बात करें, Gita has psychological lessons for all of us. And that is all I would like to say for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, madam. It was, I think, very insightful views presented by you, and it is always very interesting for me personally and for our student to listen a psychologist when she is speaking on Bhagavad-Gita. So it was very amazing lecture and very enlightening. Thank you so much, madam, for accepting our invitation and being a part of this national
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. So for us, it's a great moment for this national conference that our chief guest, Sri Akhilesh Mishra ji, Honorable Ambassador of India to Ireland, is joining this national conference. Sir, we welcome you, and it's a really great moment that you accepted our invitation to be the chief guest. So thank you, sir.
Namaskar ji.
Namaskar, sir. Say hearty welcome to you, sir. Mr. Sir, just we have started. One more eminent speaker is there, Professor Savas, sir. Then, if you permit, let the speaker complete, sir.
मिश्रा जी को भी धन्यवाद, बहुत उत्कृष्ट था उनका प्रोग्राम.
Yes, thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. Hearty welcome to you. Arpit, please continue this and we'll take up after this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. So moving ahead now, I would like to invite Professor N.C. Panda, sir, to deliver a lecture on philosophy and practices of Bhagavad-Gita. So I would like to give brief introduction of Professor N.C. Panda, sir. He is now the Professor of Sanskrit in Vishweshwaranand Vishwabandhu Institute of Sanskrit and Indological Studies, Punjab University, Chandigarh. He was also the Professor Panda, sir, also served as the ICCR Chair, Visiting Professor of Sanskrit, Sanskrit Study Center, Faculty of Archaeology, Silkup Kron, University of Bangkok. Sir's specialization is a Vedic studies, Indian philosophy, Buddhism, Kashmir Saivism, architecture, etc. Many more. Sir published more than 121 research papers in very famous index journals, and also he wrote and edited more than 28 books. So, sir, it's our proud privilege to listen to you, sir. So now over to you, Professor Panda, sir.
Thank you, sir. Om Vedanudharate Jagannibahate Bhugulamudvibrate Daityanudarayate Balim Chalayate Kshatrikshayam Kurvate Paulyashtyam Jayate Halankalayate Karunyamatannote Mlichanamurchayate Dasakriti Krite Krishnaya Tubhyam Namaha. Most respected Professor B.N. Jha, although he has left, respected Sir Akhilesh Mr. Sir from Ireland, Dublin. He is the ambassador of India to Ireland. Dr. I.V. Basapareddy ji, director of Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, New Delhi. Dr. Arpit, Dr. Sampadanand Mishra, and other distinguished scholars. my dear students. Actually, I want to talk through PPT. So first of all, I will share, and I think it is visible, Dr. Arpit. Regarding Bhagavad Gita, actually I have prepared not for the scholars but for the students, and I will mix the language both in English and Hindi. Little bit Sanskrit verses are there. My previous speakers, they have emphasized regarding the philosophy, psychology of Bhagavad Gita. Really, they are very good in their particular field, and I appreciate their presentation. And I'll start because the thing is, time is very short, and the slides are more in number. So, what is Bhagavad Gita? It is known to you all. Fortunately, I was in Kurukshetra. I spent Kurukshetra for 4 years because मैं कुरुक्षेत्र विश्वविद्यालय में लगभग जहाँ गीता का स्थान है, गीता की जन्मस्थली है, मैं उसी कुरुक्षेत्र विश्वविद्यालय में एक स्टूडेंट था. I did my MA and MPhil from Kurukshetra University, and I was a lecturer also in a college near to Kurukshetra, that is it is in Kethal. So I was staying in just front of ब्रह्म सरोवर, जहाँ आज गीता का मूल स्थान है. ज्योति सरोवर भी है, ब्रह्म सरोवर है, उसके सामने मैं लगभग 1 साल रहा हूँ. तो गीता का जो मूल स्थान है, जिसको आप कह सकते हैं कि कुरुक्षेत्र धर्म क्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेता युजुस्सवः मामका पांडवाश्चैव किम अकुर्वत संजय. धर्म क्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्र. तो धर्म क्षेत्र का जो स्थान है वो कुरुक्षेत्र के नाम से जाना जाता है, और मुझे सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ है. मैं उसी स्थान में रहा हूँ, उसी विश्वविद्यालय में अध्ययन किया हूँ, अध्यापन भी किया हूँ. तो दोनों सौभाग्य प्राप्त होने के पश्चात मैंने कुछ समझा, कुछ पाया हमारे गुरुओं से, जो गुरु खास करके कुरुक्षेत्र में थे, और अनंतर हम काशी में भी लगभग 15 साल रहे हैं. तो कुछ गीता के ऊपर मैंने कुछ काम भी किया है, कुछ अपना आर्टिकल तो रिसर्च आर्टिकल तो अलग बात है. विद्यार्थियों के लिए मैं ये कहता हूँ, विद्वान तो अपने जगह बहुत श्रेष्ठ हैं, जो भी यहाँ इस पैनल में है या फिर जहाँ कहीं से जुड़े हैं, अपने जगह विद्वान हैं. और गीता क्या है, क्यों गीता हमें पढ़ना चाहिए, गीता क्या एक साधारण ग्रंथ है या कोई जटिल ग्रंथ है, या कोई ऐसा ग्रंथ है जो हमारे लिए विशेष करके एक औषधि के रूप में उसको प्रयोग कर सकते हैं. गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किम अन्यैः शास्त्र विस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुख पद्मात् विनिश्रुता. ये कहा गया है कि गीता जो है कोई साधारण ग्रंथ नहीं है. ये जिसको आप कह सकते हैं कि ये अगर किसी को कोई पाठ कर लेता है, जान लेता है, समझ लेता है, तो वो सभी शास्त्रों को पढ़ लेता है. गीता में सभी विद्याओं का समागम है. ऐसी कोई विद्या नहीं है जो गीता में नहीं है. आज जैसे मैं slowly I will go through my slides for the students. The Gita was given the skilled and noble Arjuna when become the disponent of the battlefield Kurukshetra. अर्जुन का जो दुख था, अर्जुन का जो विषाद था, यहीं से गीता शुरू होता है. आज जब हम बात करते हैं गीता हम आखिर क्यों पढ़ें, कलियुग में, कलियुग से पहले ये गीता का उपदेश हमें मिला था, और कलियुग में इसका यूज हम करते हैं, इसका प्रयोग हम करते हैं, इसका उपदेश हम देते हैं, अपने विद्यार्थियों को देते हैं. आखिर क्यों देते हैं कि वर्तमान समय में दुख ही तो प्रधान है. कलियुग में कली है और दुख है. सांख्य दर्शन तो कहता है दुखत्रय विघातात् जिज्ञासात् अपघात के ही. तो दुख का विनाश कैसे हम करेंगे, दुख को दूर कैसे करेंगे. गीता में दुखों का जो बहुत कुछ उपाय बताए गए हैं दुखों के लिए. So many factors are given in Gita, so many advices already given in Bhagavad Gita, how you can reduce your tension, how you can reduce your stress, the stress management. Before being my previous speaker, she has told about this tension, about the Gita psychology, emotion, how to free from emotion. All these things are there. She has told very specifically. So I will not go in detail all these things. So Gita में जो दुखेषु उद्विग्न मना सुखेषु विगत स्प्रिय वितराग भय क्रोध स्थितधि मुनि रुच्यते। एक मुनि कौन होता है? गीता में, गीता का जो संदेश है आप सभी जानते हैं कि ऐसा कौन सा व्यक्ति है जिसके पास दुख ना हो? कौन सा ऐसा व्यक्ति है कि जो कहेगा कि मैं बहुत ही सुखी हूं, मुझे कुछ किसी चीज की आवश्यकता नहीं है? अगर आवश्यकता नहीं होती तो मनुष्य तो सब कुछ छोड़ करके संन्यास हो जाता है, पर ऐसा नहीं है। संन्यास के लिए भी एक समय होता है। ब्रह्मचर्य, गृहस्थ, वानप्रस्थ एंड संन्यास, ये 4 आश्रम जो हमारे शास्त्र में है, जो हमारे सनातन धर्म के हिसाब से है, वो हमारे लिए उपादेय है। और गीता यही सिखाती है कि जो भी हम कर्म करते हैं अपने समय के हिसाब से कर्म करें। जिसका जो भी कर्तव्य है, जिसका जो भी ड्यूटी है, उसको समय सम्यक रूप में संपादन करना चाहिए। ये गीता उपदेश देती है। और ड्यूटी क्या है? कोई पूछेगा भाई ड्यूटी क्या है? एक टीचर है, जैसे हम शिक्षक हैं, हम बच्चों को पढ़ाते हैं। अगर हम अपने ड्यूटी छोड़ करके कहीं घूमने चले जाएंगे, करेंगे, तो अपनी ड्यूटी हम नहीं कर रहे हैं। एक जैसे अर्जुन था, क्षत्रिय था, क्षतात्रायते क्षत्रिय, जो दुखों से जो त्राण करते, शत्रुओं से जो बचाते हैं, वो क्षत्रिय। आज देखिए हमारे अपने जो सैनिक है, वीर सैनिक है, वो लड़ते हैं, देश की रक्षा करते हैं, कितने अपने जीवन को आहुति दे करके हमें बचाते हैं। तो ये जो वो अपने जीवन को आहुति देना और देश के लिए उत्सर्ग कर देना अपने शरीर को, तो ये बड़ी बात है। तो ये जो एक गीता का संदेश है कि आप अपने कर्तव्य में रत रहिए। और अभी थोड़े दिन पहले हमारे CDS बिपिन रावत जी जैसे देश के लिए अपना प्राण उत्सर्ग किया, तो ऐसे हमारे और भी योद्धा थे। कितने लोग हमारे देश के लिए अपने प्राण को आहुति देते हैं। ये गीता का उपदेश है कि अर्जुन के लिए नहीं है, सभी के लिए है। आपको जो भी कर्तव्य, आपको जो भी कार्य दिया जाता है, आप उसको संपादन करिए। और पद्मपत्र इवाम भसा, पद्म पत्र के ऊपर जैसे जल टिकता नहीं है, उसी हिसाब से आप कर्म तो करें, कर्म में लिप्त ना हो। कर्म में लिप्त ना हो करके अगर कर्म को आप करेंगे, वो कर्म श्रेष्ठ होता है, निष्क्रिय से के ओर जाता है। और वो कर्म जो है, ये निष्काम कर्म के रूप में आप करें उसमें। सकाम कर्म तो हम सभी करते हैं, सभी करते हैं। सकाम कर्म हम करते हैं जहाँ कामनाएं होती हैं, इच्छाएं होती है, तो वो सकाम कर्म को छोड़ करके निष्काम कर्म करें। और जो कर्तव्य हमें दिया गया, जो ड्यूटी हमें दी गई है, तो उसी को हम संपादन अगर करते हैं तो निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं हम गीता का वचन को पालन करते हैं। गीता का वचन जो है वो आज सबके लिए बहुत जरूरी है, उसको पालन करना। और ये देखिए आपके सामने जो 3 प्रकार के योग है, सभी आप जानते हैं। कर्म योग वही मैंने कहा, भक्ति योग, आप एक भक्ति के मार्ग में जा करके भी ईश्वर को प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। और ज्ञान योग तो बहुत ऊपर है, सभी ज्ञानी बनना चाहते हैं, सभी उपदेश देना चाहते हैं। और जो ज्ञानी बनता है वो क्या है? जो भी ज्ञानी होता है ये नहीं सोचता है कि हम सब कुछ कर पाएंगे, तो निश्चित ज्ञान ही सर्वोपरि है। तो ज्ञान के बिना कुछ भी संभव नहीं है। नहीं ज्ञानेन सदृशम पवित्रम यह विद्यते। तो ज्ञान के समान कोई पवित्र वस्तु नहीं है दुनिया में। तो मनुष्य यहाँ आया है और चला भी जाएगा, पर अगर ज्ञान उसके साथ जाता है तो निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं वो श्रेष्ठ मानव कहलाता है। क्योंकि ज्ञान से ही मुक्ति मिलती है, अज्ञान से नहीं। कोई व्यक्ति कह देगा मुझे ज्ञान की क्या आवश्यकता है, हम क्यों स्कूल जाएंगे, क्यों अध्ययन करेंगे, पढ़ाई की आवश्यकता क्या है, गुरु की आवश्यकता क्या है? तो ये तो भाई संभव नहीं है। इसलिए अर्जुन ने कहा है ना, शिष्यस्तेहं साधीमां त्वां प्रपन्नम। अर्जुन ने भगवान कृष्ण से निवेदन किया, हे प्रभु मुझे एक शिष्य के रूप में ग्रहण कर लीजिए। और जितने भी विद्यार्थी आज यहाँ बैठे हैं, मैं उन्हीं को यही संदेश दूंगा कि गुरु के पास जाइए। गुरुकुल की परंपरा जो हमारे पहले भी थी, आज भी है, वो परंपरा आज भी हमारे देश में गुरुकुल की परंपरा है, और वो गुरुकुल परंपरा कहीं ना कहीं गुरु शिष्य का जो संबंध है उसको आगे बढ़ाता है, और ये गीता का उपदेश है। और आज के समय में यही उपयोगी है कि वो जितने भी शिष्य हैं, जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स हैं, वो गुरु को के पास जाए और उनका जो वाक्य है उसको स्वीकार करें, और एक शिष्य के रूप में, एक सुशिष्य के रूप में, एक जिज्ञासु के रूप में गुरु के पास जा करके ज्ञान का ज्ञान अर्जन करें, और यही ज्ञान अर्जन करने का साधन है। और दूसरी बात, गीता एक श्रेष्ठ ग्रंथ है। योग के बारे में जैसे कहा गया है कि योगस्थ कुरु कर्मणि संगं त्यक्त्वा धनंजय सिद्धो सिद्ध्य सिद्धो समय भूत्वा समत्तम योग उच्यते। सभी आप जानते हैं इसका अर्थ क्या है कि समत्व भाव। आजकल जैसे हम कहते हैं कि समान भाव, समत्व भाव क्या है? कोई व्यक्ति कहेगा कि मुझे क्या आवश्यकता है भाई, जो मैं कर रहा हूं वो तो अपने लिए ठीक है, समत्व को क्या क्यों करें हम? नहीं, गीता क्या सिखाती है? आपका मानसिक स्तर जो है, बौद्धिक स्तर जो है वो तो है ही, पर कई बार हम लोग अपने योग के द्वारा हम राग द्वेष के ऊपर उठ करके अगर कार्य करते हैं तो निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं श्रेष्ठ होता है। मनुष्य क्या करता है, कहीं कभी कभी राग द्वेष को लेकर के चलता है। सभी के अंदर राग भी हैं, सभी के अंदर द्वेष भी हैं, पर उससे ऊपर उठ करके कार्य करें और थोड़ा सा समान भाव से रखें। किसी भी के ऊपर ना कोई अटैचमेंट या मोह आपके पास है, उन सब से उठ करके कार्य करना चाहिए। और मेंटल हेल्थ को स्टेबल करना भी गीता का संदेश है। आप अगर मेंटल हेल्थ चाहते हैं तो भी गीता यही कहती है कि आप अपने मेंटल हेल्थ को, हाउ यू विल कंट्रोल योर मेंटल टेंशंस। सो हियर इट इज द कर्म योगा। सो कर्म योगी आप सभी हो सकते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई कर्म योगी नहीं है। हम लोग अपने जो भी कार्य हम करते हैं, आज इसी स्थान पर पहुंचे हैं अपने कर्म को करके। कोई व्यक्ति ये नहीं कहेगा कि मैंने काम किया नहीं है मुझे सब कुछ फल मिल गया, ऐसा भी नहीं होता है। बिना कर्म के कोई व्यक्ति ना कुछ पाता है ना कुछ पाया है। और स्वामी विवेकानंद जैसे आप सभी जानते हैं, वही कहते थे कि उत्तिष्ठत जाग्रत प्राप्य वरान निबोधत किरस्य धारा निशिता दुरत्तया दुर्गं पथसत्पयोर्वदन्ति। कि ये भी स्वामी विवेकानंद का जो वाक्य है, जो उपदेश है, वही कहते हैं सीक्रेट ऑफ द कर्म योग व्हिच टू परफॉर्म एक्शंस विदाउट एनी fruitive desires is taught by Lord Krishna in the भगवत गीता। तो भगवत गीता को मानने वाले केवल स्वामी विवेकानंद नहीं है, बहुत सारे महापुरुष हैं। महात्मा गांधी भी गीता के ऊपर बहुत कुछ टिप्पणी की है। कुछ कर्मयोग के बारे में मैंने कुछ बच्चों के लिए मैंने उदाहरण देने का प्रयास किया है। आप अगर इस प्रकार कर्म करें कि जो भी व्यक्ति हैं जो दरिद्र हैं उनको अन्न दान करें, ये भी आई लाइक पीपल who do not perform their actions with attachment and do not expect an outcome, says Krishna। तो वही है कि कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन। आप जानते हैं इस श्लोक का अर्थ, आप जानते हैं कि मैं आई विल नॉट रिपीट ऑल दिस थिंग्स, ना कर्म फल हेतुर्भु माते संगृष्टो परमणि। सो ये देखिए, जब कुछ ऐसे कुछ मैंने फोटो लिया था जब मैं बैंकॉक में था, तब कुछ देखिए वहाँ के जो बुद्धिस्ट मंक्स हैं वो कैसे, बुद्धिस्ट मंक्स कभी खाना नहीं बनाते हैं, वो अपना डेली इनका रूटीन वर्क है कि जा करके भिक्षा मांगते हैं, और जो भिक्षा उनको प्राप्त होते हैं उसी भिक्षा से वो अपने जो अंतेवासी हैं, दूसरे भी हैं, उनको शेयर करके फिर अपना भोजन करते हैं। तो ये निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं हमारे देश में ये परंपरा भी रही है, जो कि हम दान करते हैं। आश्रम, हमारे बहुत सारे आश्रम हैं, गुरुकुल है, वो सब चलते हैं। गुरुकुल में जो बच्चे रहते हैं वो दान के माध्यम से भी चलता है, और ये विदेश में भी ये परंपरा है, खास करके बुद्धिस्ट कंट्री में जो मैंने देखा। ये फोटो आपके सामने है, मैं वही फोटो शेयर कर रहा हूँ, ताकि केवल गीता केवल ये नहीं है केवल हिंदुस्तान में ही है, हिंदुस्तान के बाहर भी जो लोग हैं वो लोग भी गीता पढ़ते हैं, गीता जानते हैं, गीता समझते हैं, और अपना कर्म भी सही ढंग से करते हैं। केवल हम देखिए कितना बहुत सुंदर फोटो ये है कि थाईलैंड में भी इस प्रकार जो लोग दान करते हैं कर्मयोगी बनते हैं, जिसे कि एग्जाम्पल ऑफ पायस कर्म एक्ट ऑफर फूड एंड चैरिटी। देखिए किस प्रकार वहाँ चैरिटी यानी कि दान का महत्व है जो हम हिंदुस्तान में करते हैं। दान के महत्व के बारे में हमारी गीता में कहा गया है और शास्त्र में भी कहा गया है, और वही बात हमें देखने को मिलता है कि विदेश में भी मिलता है। और एक बात है जो श्रेष्ठ खास करके स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स। एक्चुअली कभी कभी हम कहते हैं हम एजुकेशन क्यों लेते हैं, what is the meaning of education, what is the significance of education, why we are just going to schools and all to learn many things, why, what are its importance? So J.B. वाटसन एक फॉरेन स्कॉलर थे, उन्होंने कहा कि एजुकेशन इज द मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ बिहेवियर। सो एजुकेशन इज द मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ बिहेवियर। अगर व्यवहार में परिवर्तन लाना शिक्षा का मुख्य उद्देश्य है। अगर व्यवहार में परिवर्तन नहीं होता तो आखिर आप क्यों शिक्षा लेते हैं, क्यों स्कूल जाते हैं, क्यों कॉलेज जाते हैं? तो इसका अर्थ कुछ नहीं होता। अगर कोई व्यक्ति, कोई विद्यार्थी अगर व्यवहार सही ढंग से नहीं करता है तो फिर वो कहीं ना कहीं उसके शिक्षा में कमी है, कहीं ना कहीं उसके मन में जो खास करके ईगो है, अहं भाव, अहं करोमि तथाभिमानः, मैं करता हूं, अरे मैं कौन हूं, वही बात है कि मैं को हटा दो, ईगो को हटा दो और ज्ञान प्राप्त करो। इसलिए व्यवहार में जो परिवर्तन विद्यार्थियों के अंदर होना चाहिए कभी कभी नहीं होता, तो उसके लिए भी गीता कहती है कि यत् यत् आचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तत् देवेतरो जनः स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते। जो बड़े व्यक्ति कहते हैं आप उन्हीं के फुटप्रिंट्स पर चलिए। गौतम बुद्ध ने बहुत कुछ कहा, और देखिए बुद्ध के अनुयायी आज कितने बुद्धिस्ट कंट्री हैं। बुद्ध तो यही थे, और हिंदुस्तान में कितने बुद्ध को मानते हैं, और कितने, जैसे मैंने ये पहले जो श्लोक पढ़ा कि वेदानुद्धरते जगन्निवहते भूगोलमुद्बिभ्रते दैत्यानुदारयते बलिं चलयते क्षत्रि क्षयं कुरुवते पौलस्त्यम जयते हलं कलयते कारुण्यमातन्वते। जो करुणा के द्वारा बुद्ध ने सबको अपने बस में कर लिया। करुणा चाहिए, करुणा है, मुदिता है। तो करुणा जो आजकल हम करुणा के बिना हम रह नहीं सकते। कोई भी दुखी व्यक्ति है उसके प्रति करुणा भाव से उसके साथ व्यवहार करिए। यही गीता सिखाती है कि करुणा भाव जहाँ नहीं है वहाँ मनुष्य जीवन नहीं है। मनुष्य का अर्थ है कि करुणा वहाँ होना चाहिए। तो कारुण्य मातन्वते म्लेच्छान मूर्छयते दशा कृतिकते कृष्णाय तुभ्यम नमः। ये जयदेव ने अपने गीत गोविंद में इस श्लोक को लिखा है, तो मैंने आपके सामने ये रखा। तो कारुण्य मातन्वते, ये बुद्ध के लिए उन्होंने कहा कि करुणा जहाँ है वहाँ गौतम बुद्ध है, और करुणा जहाँ है वहाँ हमारे समाज है। और यही समाज जो खास करके हिंदुस्तान में हम लोग जब भी कोई बात करते हैं, निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं हमारे विवेक में वो बात आती है। हम लोग अपने हिसाब से दूसरों के प्रति श्रद्धा व्यक्त करते हैं, दूसरों को सम्मान देते हैं। दूसरों को सम्मान देना, विद्वानों को सम्मान देना, गुरुओं को सम्मान देना, यही गीता सिखाती है। अगर आप गीता पढ़ करके सम्मान नहीं देते अपने पिता को, अपने माता को, अपने गुरु को, देन व्हाट इज द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ एजुकेशन? शिक्षा का यही सिखाती है? नहीं, शिक्षा यही सिखाती है कि दूसरों को सम्मान दीजिए। खास करके जो गुरु हैं आपके, जो पेरेंट्स हैं आपके, जो सीनियर, उनको सम्मान देना, ये गीता सिखाती है। इसलिए सजत प्रमाणम कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते, ये काफी अच्छा श्लोक है और ये आपके सामने है। बहुत सुंदर श्लोक है, आप सभी जानते हैं, विद्यार्थी जो भी ये इसमें जोड़े हैं। ये गीता का संदेश है। विद्या विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि सुनिचैव सुपाकेच पंडितः समदर्शिनः। जो पंडित है वो समदर्शी है, उनके सामने सब कुछ समान है। ना कोई जो भी है, चाहे गाय हो, चाहे भैंस हो, चाहे एलिफेंट हो, डग हो, all are similar because the soul is commonly staying inside the body। जो आत्मा है ये सभी के अंदर है, चाहे वो गाय है, चाहे भैंस है, चाहे कोई भी हो, चाहे मनुष्य है, सबके अंदर जो आत्मा है वो है। और आत्मा कोई साधारण नहीं है, और यही आत्मा सबके अंदर अगर है तो हम सबको समान रूप से ट्रीट करें। क्यों कहेंगे भाई ये बहुत बड़ा है, छोटा है? ऐसा नहीं है। अयं निज परो वेति गणना लघु चेतसाम उदार चरितानंद वसुधैव कुटुंबकम। ये भी गीता का संदेश है। अयं निज परो वेति गणना लघु चेतसाम। हम क्यों किसको छोटा माने, किसको बड़ा माने? सबके अंदर जब आत्मा है तो आत्मा यही सबके अंदर जब ये आत्मा का निवास रहता है। हाँ, आत्मा के बारे में बहुत कुछ कहा गया है, मैं विस्तार से नहीं जाऊंगा। तो इसलिए पंडित कौन है, एक विद्वान कौन है, एक सुधी व्यक्ति कौन है, एक साधु व्यक्ति कौन है, इसके बारे में भी कहा गया है कि मातृवत परदारेषु परद्रव्येषु लोष्टवत् आत्मवत् सर्वभूतेषु या पश्यति सपंडितः। ये श्लोक आपके सामने है, आप उसको पढ़ सकते हैं कि सभी को सम्मान पूर्वक पेश आना है, सबके प्रति, सभी प्राणियों में अपने आत्मा को दर्शन करना है। मैं जैसा हूं उसके अंदर भी आत्मा है, वो भी ऐसा ही है। अगर मैं अगर खुद दुखी हूं तो दूसरों को हम कैसे दुख दे सकते हैं? दूसरों का दुख देखना, दूसरों को दुख देना ठीक नहीं। कोई दुखी है तो उसको हेल्प करिए, कारुण्य मात करुणा के द्वारा पेश आइए। तो ये भगवत गीता हमें सिखाती है। और आज के समाज में सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हम लोक संग्रह की बात करते हैं, वेलफेयर ऑफ द सोसाइटी की बात करते हैं। क्योंकि कोरोना की महामारी के समय में बहुत लोगों ने बहुत कुछ उपकार किया। लोगों का उपकार करना, समाज का उपकार करना हमारा धर्म होता है। भगवत गीता ये सिखाती है किसी का भी उपकार करना, परोपकाराय स्वर्गाय, जैसे कहते हैं कि परोपकार करिए, उपकार करिए। अब एक ही गीता क्या सिखाती है? गीता के द्वारा हम यही जानते हैं कि लोक संग्रह मेवापि, लोक संग्रह, लोगों का उपकार करना, लोगों को सही ढंग से पेश आना, लोगों के अंदर जो दुख है उसको दूर करना। चाहे आपके पास जो भी संसाधन है थोड़े बहुत आप किसी को दीजिए, त्याग करिए। त्याग के बिना कोई जीवन नहीं है। कोई व्यक्ति सोचता है कि मैं तो, मेरे पास बहुत पैसा है, पर उस पैसे से क्या लाभ है जब आप किसी के लिए 2 पैसा खर्च नहीं करते हैं, किसी गरीब के लिए आप काम नहीं करते हैं, किसी गरीब को रोटी नहीं खिलाते हैं, तो क्या धिक आपके पैसा। क्योंकि तेन त्यक्तेन भुंजीथा मा गृध कश्चित् धनम, जैसे ईशावास्य उपनिषद में कहा गया है कि ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वं यत्किंचित्या जगत्याम जगत तेन त्यक्तेन भुंजीथा मा गृध कश्चित् धनम। तो इसलिए त्याग भाव से जीना चाहिए। ये भगवत गीता भी सिखाती है, हमारे वेद में भी यही संदेश है। तो उसी संदेश हम गीता में भी पढ़ते हैं, क्योंकि गीता तो उपनिषद का सार है। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपाल नंदन पार्थवत्स सुधीर्भुक्ता दुग्धम गीता मृतम महत्। तो गीता कोई साधारण ग्रंथ नहीं है, उपनिषद का पूरा सार इसमें आपको मिलेगा। यही बात, त्याग पूर्वक जीना, ये भी गीता का संदेश है। कितने व्यक्ति हैं जो त्याग पूर्वक जीते हैं? भाई त्याग करना सबका गुण है, सबका धर्म है, सबका कर्तव्य है। और खास करके विद्यार्थियों के लिए, अगर कोई विद्यार्थी आपके साथ है, कोई अंतेवासी है, दुखी है, तो निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं उसको आप हेल्प करिए, आप उसका दुख बांटिए। अगर दुखी है तो निश्चित उसको दुख उसका कम करिए। तो ये भी एक है आपके सामने, देवान भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तुः परस्परम भावयन्तः श्रेय परम अवाप्स्यत। आप जब भी यज्ञ करते हैं, वैदिक यज्ञ का संपादन होता है, आज भी यज्ञ होता है। अगर आप देवता को आहुति प्रदान करेंगे, देवता आपके लिए भी करेंगे काम। तो इसलिए एक आदान प्रदान होता है परस्पर, मैं आपके लिए कुछ करता हूं, आप मेरे लिए कुछ करेंगे। अगर यही भाव रहा, निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं हम एक दूसरे के साथ चलेंगे। एक दूसरे समान मंत्र समिति समाने सहचित्तमेषाम, ये भी जो संदेश है वेद का, यही इसमें भी आता है कि देवान भावयतानेन, आप देवताओं को सम्मान करें। और देवता कौन है? आप कोई पूछेगा, भाई विद्वांस वही देवा, जो विद्वान है वही देवता है। और विद्वान कौन है? जो आपके गुरु हैं। जितने भी विद्यार्थी हैं, सभी हम विद्यार्थी, मैं भी विद्यार्थी हूँ। हम अपने गुरु को सम्मान देते हैं और देना भी चाहिए। और यही विद्वान जो है वही देवता है, क्योंकि गुरु के रूप में देवता हमारे सामने है, पिता के रूप में देवता हमारे सामने है, माता के रूप में देवता हमारे सामने है। अगर उनको हम सम्मान नहीं देते हैं तो फिर आखिर हमारा विद्या का क्या लाभ है? तो ये गीता सिखाती है कि परस्परम भावयन्तः श्रेय। यज्ञ शब्द का अर्थ ये भी नहीं है कि केवल हवन ही करना है। यज्ञ शब्द का अर्थ है पूजन करना है, दान करना है, सम्मान देना है। बहुत सारे यज्ञ का अर्थ कहा गया है, किया गया है। तो निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं विद्वानों के प्रति सम्मान व्यक्त करना। मैं किसी को तू कहता हूँ, तुम कहता हूं, अगर मैं किसी को आप कह करके संबोधन करूंगा, क्या मुझे कोई टैक्स देना पड़ता है उसके लिए? क्या भाई, आप किसी को सम्मान करें, चाहे वो क्लर्क हो, चाहे पियन हो, चाहे कोई भी व्यक्ति हो, सबको आप आपसे संबोधित करिए। ये शास्त्र सिखाती है, ये गीता बताती है, गीता सिखाती है। इसलिए सर्व ये जो हमारे देखिए महात्मा गांधी ने भी काफी कुछ कहा है, मैं विस्तार से नहीं जाऊंगा, समय काफी हो चुके हैं। भक्ति योग के बारे में आप सब जानते हैं, हम तो सभी भक्त हैं, इस भगवान के भक्त हैं, तो भक्ति योग में विशेष नहीं जाऊंगा। तो आप हमारे कितने भक्त, अर्जुन भी भक्त था, कृष्ण के भक्त सुदामा भी आपके सामने हैं, वो भी भगवान कृष्ण की बात करते हैं तो सुदामा भी का नाम भी हमें लेना पड़ता है। सुदामा एक ऐसे भक्त था कि भगवान कृष्ण के अत्यंत प्रिय था। तो ये हम प्रिय हो सकते हैं, ये भी देखिए भक्तों की कमी नहीं है। तो केवल ज्ञान योग के बारे में मैंने कहा कि नहीं ज्ञाने न सदृशम पवित्रम यह विद्यते, ये आपके सामने है। ज्ञान के समान कोई पवित्र वस्तु नहीं है, और ज्ञानी जो है वही श्रेष्ठ व्यक्ति है, वही गुरु है। ज्ञान से ही मुक्ति मिलती है, और ज्ञान के बिना मुक्ति संभव नहीं है। चाहे गौतम बुद्ध हो, चाहे भगवान व्यास हो, चाहे भगवान वाल्मीकि हो, चाहे भगवान कृष्ण हो, सभी हमारे गुरु थे और हम उसके शिष्य हैं। तो इसलिए ज्ञान योग के बारे में देखिए, ये भी कहीं ना कहीं श्रद्धावान लभत एक ज्ञान, जिसके पास श्रद्धा है वही ज्ञान प्राप्त कर सकता है। श्रद्धा के बिना कोई भी व्यक्ति ज्ञान प्राप्त नहीं कर सकता है। कोई व्यक्ति कहेगा कि मैं तो वैसे चला जाता हूँ, मुझे ज्ञान मिल जाता है, ऐसा नहीं। आप गुरु के प्रति श्रद्धा भाव रखिए, तो श्रद्धा से ज्ञान प्राप्त होता है। और उसके बाद सभी कुछ हमारे इसमें विस्तार से मैं नहीं जाना चाहूँगा। और भगवत गीता का उपदेश तो बहुत ज़्यादा है, महान है। और अहिंसा के बारे में जब हम बात करते हैं, आज देखिए भारत में नहीं पूरे विश्व में आज हिंसा का वातावरण है। सर्वत्र हिंसा ही हिंसा है, वायलेंस है, हर जगह लोग मर रहे हैं, मार रहे हैं, यही सब चल रहा है। और अहिंसा की बात हम करते हैं, भगवत गीता अहिंसा के बारे में कहता है। और अहिंसा परमो धर्म, ये भी बात आती है। और इसी से अगर हम चलेंगे, अहिंसा सत्यम अस्तेय, आप जैसे ये देखिए भगवत गीता 16:2 में है, अहिंसा सत्यम त्याग शांति अपरिशुनम। अहिंसा के मार्ग में चलेंगे तो भी आप गांधी को मान सकते हैं। गांधी को अगर समझना है तो अहिंसा का मार्ग जो है उसको अपनाइए, ये भगवत गीता कहती है। और स्वामी विवेकानंद भी यही कहते हैं कि अहिंसा का मार्ग जो है श्रेष्ठ मार्ग है। ये सभी भगवत गीता के हिसाब से हमें उपदेश देते हैं। और ये देखिए गौतम बुद्ध और हमारे राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी, दोनों का विचार भी अहिंसा के साथ है। अगर अहिंसा नहीं है, हम भी नहीं है, हिंसा है तो हम कहीं भी नहीं है। हिंसा भाव त्याग करिए, क्रोध को त्याग करिए। सबसे बड़ी बात है, आज हम गीता को यूं इसलिए हमें पढ़ना चाहिए कि हमारे अंदर जो क्रोध है, क्रोध सबसे बड़ा दुश्मन है। नास्ति क्रोधः समः रिपुः, क्रोध इज द बेस्ट एनिमी ऑफ योर लाइफ। जो भी हम कुछ आवेश में आकर के बोल देते हैं, क्रोध बस में आकर के बोल देते हैं, हमें ऐसा नहीं बोलना चाहिए। क्रोध को ऊपर कंट्रोल करना चाहिए। जहां क्रोध का ऊपर कंट्रोल है वहां लाइफ है। मैं विद्यार्थियों के लिए खास करके कहूंगा कि क्रोध को कंट्रोल में रखिए। अगर जहां क्रोध है आप कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएंगे। तो क्रोध को कंट्रोल करना है तो भगवत गीता को पढ़िए, 10 बार पढ़िए, स्वाध्याय करिए। और लोभ, काम, क्रोध, लोभ, इस तीनों को त्याग करिए। केवल क्रोध नहीं, उसके साथ कामना, जो कामना है और जो वासना है, इसको भी त्याग करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि तीनों जो है नरक का द्वार है। त्रयम त्यजेत। और लोभ है, लोभ तो सबसे बड़ा शत्रु है। क्रोध भी है, लोभ भी है और कामना है। तीनों जो शत्रु है, ये गीता में कहा गया है। तो ये तीनों को हमें त्याग करना चाहिए, काम, क्रोध, लोभ तथा तस्मात् एतत् त्रयम त्यजेत। ये तीनों को अगर आप त्याग करेंगे आप सुखी रहेंगे। हम दुख की बात करते हैं, दुखी तो तभी होंगे ना, हमें कुछ चीज मिलती नहीं, हम दुखी हो जाते हैं, उसको क्यों मिल गया, हमें क्यों नहीं मिला। इसलिए हम दुखी भी हो जाते हैं, और दुखी होते तो क्रोध हमारा बढ़ जाता है, हम उल्टा सीधा बोल पड़ते हैं। तो इसलिए ज्यादा वासना, कामना के पीछे मत जाइए, जो भी मिलता है उससे संतुष्ट रहिए और क्रोध को कम करिए। किसी को मिल गया तो ठीक है, उसको मिलना था, उसको मिला है, ठीक है, आपको संतुष्ट होना चाहिए। जितना मिला है आप उसी से संतुष्ट रहिए। यही आज के लिए संदेश है, यही प्रैक्टिकल यूज है, यही दर्शन है, गीता दर्शन। ये जो भी मिलता है उतने में संतुष्ट रहिए। डोंट आस्क फॉर मोर एंड मोर। if you get more, no, then it's a problem for you, because किसके पास आप बताइए, मनुष्य जब जाता है यहाँ से छोड़ करके ऊपर, तो क्या अपने साथ क्या लेके जाता है? क्या धन लेके जाता है? क्या अपना फ्लैट लेके जाता है? क्या लेके जाता है? क्या पैसा लेके जाता है? अपना पुण्य ही लेके जाता है, अपने कर्म का जो पुण्य है वही जाता है। इसलिए अच्छे कर्म करिए। हाँ, अच्छे लाइफ हैज 3 गेट्स, जो मैंने आपसे कहा, तो उसी को थोड़ा बहुत क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह सम्मोहात्मक विभ्रम सर्वनाति बुद्धि नाशात् प्रणश्यति। आपकी बुद्धि भी भ्रष्ट हो जाएगी। अगर बुद्धि भ्रष्ट होगी क्रोध की वजह से, क्यों आप उस कर्म को करेंगे? इसलिए त्याग दीजिए क्रोध, एंगर को त्याग दीजिए, क्योंकि बुद्धि जिसकी सही है वही व्यक्ति सही कर्म करता है। एग्जाम में बैठे हैं, आप क्रोधित हो जाएंगे तो आप कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाएंगे, आप क्या लिखेंगे एग्जाम में? इसलिए बेटर है कि अपने माइंड को कंट्रोल में रखिए, ज्यादा उछल कूद मत होइए, ज्यादा क्रोधित मत होइए, जो आता है उसको लिखिए, कंसंट्रेशन के माध्यम से या आप चलिए। इसलिए लोभ के बारे में भी सब कुछ है। तो मैं जस्ट 2 मिनट्स आई विल कंप्लीट। तो ये काफी कुछ संदेश गीता में दिया गया है। मैं नास्ति बुद्धि अयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चा भावैरसन्ति अशान्तस्य कुतो सुखम। जो अशांत व्यक्ति है उसके पास सुख कहाँ है? हम दुखी होते हैं क्योंकि हमें सुख नहीं मिलता है, और सुखी हम तब होंगे जब हम वासना के पीछे भागेंगे। वासना से दूर रहिए ना, तभी आप सुखी हो पाएंगे, तभी आप बीमारी से दूर होंगे, तभी आपका मन संतुलित रहेगा। तो स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट की बात हम जब गीता में करते हैं, तो इसीलिए हमें स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट के माध्यम से ये गीता को पढ़ना चाहिए। और गीता का उपदेश बहुत है, मैं केवल आगे चल रहा हूँ। और ये एक बड़ी बात है कि आज के लिए बहुत गीता की आवश्यकता भी क्या है? डिवाइन वर्ड्स कैन डिफीट डायबिटीज सेज रिसर्च। अगर आप भगवत गीता पढ़ेंगे तो निश्चित कहीं ना कहीं आप डायबिटीज से फ्री हो पाएंगे। ये एक बड़ा संदेश है कि लोग सोचते हैं कि भाई गीता तो ऐसी किताब है, इसको पढ़ने से क्या लाभ है? अब देखिए, रिसर्च भी कहता है कि डायबिटीज it can be freed if you read regularly Bhagavad Gita. This is the great message to the world today. और यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्ण तत्र पार्थो धनुर्धर तत्र विजयी श्री। जहाँ भगवान कृष्ण है वहाँ विजय निश्चित है। और भगवान कृष्ण यही संदेश दिए हैं कि अपना कर्तव्य करिए, अपना काम करिए। और फाइनली कंक्लूजन में मैं यही कहूँगा कि it brings Bhagavad Gita is about the human sufferings and its resolution through spiritual efforts. It brings spirituality to the worldly life and suggests how to face challenges and compulsions of human life with faith and devotion without becoming lost in egoistic pursuits and selfish actions. So Bhagavad Gita हमारे लिए उपादेय है। और मैं आज इस अवसर पर श्री मोरारजी देसाई नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट के सभी जो जितने भी अथॉरिटीज हैं, मैं सबको धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, सबके प्रति कृतज्ञता व्यक्त करता हूँ। खास करके जो डायरेक्टर हैं बासव रेड्डी साहब, और हमारे साथ अर्पित दुबे जी हैं, आई थैंक यू ऑल। और खास करके इससे पहले समाप्त करूँ, हमारे साथ श्री अखिलेश मिश्र सर हैं। मैं सर के प्रति कृतज्ञता यहाँ करता हूँ कि सर हमारे भी गुरु हैं, तो इसलिए हम उनको सुनेंगे। पर पुनः आप सभी को धन्यवाद, आपने मुझे मौका दिया। आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल टू यू ऑल। थैंक यू वेरी मच। थैंक यू।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपने बहुत ही विद्वत्तापूर्ण तरीके से भगवत गीता योग और आधुनिक जीवन शैली में कैसे भगवत गीता का जो संदेश है, जो उसके वचन है, उनका हम प्रयोग में ला सकते हैं। आपने बड़ी व्यापक दृष्टि से इन सारी तथ्यों को और इस प्रसंग को हम सबके सामने रखा। संस्थान आपके प्रति बहुत बहुत अपनी कृतज्ञता व्यक्त करता है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, प्रणाम। Now I would like to request to our director sir that kindly welcome to our today's chief guest, Honorable Sri Akhilesh Mishra.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I once again happy to be present before you all. It's my privilege to welcome today's chief guest, Sri Akhilesh Mishra ji, Ambassador of India to Ireland, Ambassador of India, Dublin, Ireland. Many of you may not be aware. He is a very profound lover of yoga and Indian tradition, and especially in his tenure as the Director General of ICCR. So it's my privilege to work with him very closely, and how interestingly he tried to take the Indian culture, because ICCR is promoting the Indian culture abroad, and yoga is one of our main culture. So yoga in particular and all the Indian culture, professor, I use the word professor, and because he was the alumnus of Indian Institute of Technology. He has done his BTech and MTech from the IIT Banaras Hindu University, and is a very scholarly person. And when he was DG ICCR, and we met several times, discussed. He's very kind enough to call me for several meetings, and that shows his interest in very own interest, because we the bureaucrats many times work as part of our routine duty, but he has done it as part of his very heart and soul. And that I saw you. That's why today we are inviting him as our chief guest, though he is a very senior most our ambassador and our diplomat. So Professor Mishraji has worked in various capacity as Joint Secretary and Additional Secretary in Development Partnership Administration, DPA, and also at the Secretary level officer as a Special Secretary. And also he worked as a ambassador in Maldives and other countries. Now presently he is working as an ambassador in the ambassador of India to Ireland. Various achievements are made in his tenure. So today we have a privilege to listen to three great scholars and a keynote address by none other than by our Professor Jha, and who is a very, very eminent scholar. And last 2.5 hours, I personally very lucky to listen to these scholars from various aspects of dimensions of Bhagavad-Gita, which is, I say, it's a way of life, and it's our Indian culture itself is depicted in Bhagavad-Gita. So I do hope that you also, today it is too early morning there in Ireland, I do understand. So, but still you are very kind enough to accept our invitation. And on behalf of the Institute and my faculty members and all present here, and on my own behalf, it's my privilege, proud privilege to welcome you, sir. So I welcome you, and I request you deliver the chief guest address of this national seminar. Shri Akhilesh Mishra.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Very warm greetings from Dublin, Ireland, to all esteemed guests and distinguished scholars who are connected with this program. Let me begin by expressing my very sincere thanks to my respected friend, Dr. Basava Reddy ji, for taking this initiative to host this national conference on the occasion of Gita Jayanti. And also my special thanks to Dr. Arpit Dubey ji for his superb, outstanding coordination. Friends, Bhagavad-Gita occupies a uniquely special position in India, with its profound influence on India's culture, history, civilization, spirituality, and society as a whole. I think only Ramcharitmanas comes to somewhere close to the impact that Gita has had on India. The very first aspect of Gita which strikes any reader, a layman like me, is how miraculously it has condensed the essence, the nectar of the ancient wisdom which is contained in the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Mahabharata in just 700 shlokas. To me, every word in Gita is perfect. and very purposefully chosen and is like a hypertext. You contemplate on it and enter into a vast new world of philosophical inquiry and exploration. For example, the very first shloka of Gita, the only one uttered by Dhritarashtra, is itself most revealing by inquiring about Mamaka and Pandava. Dhritarashtra indulges in Ayam Nijah Paro Veti Ganana and shows his pettiness, spiritual blindness, besides the well-known physical blindness. And therefore, he shows that he is bound to suffer and end in grief and misery. As per the Upanishadic message of Yatra Nanyat Pashyati, Yatra Anyat Pashyati, Anyat Shunoti, Anyat Vijanati, Tad Alpam. Yad Alpam Tan Maratyam, Nalpe Sukhamasti. And the second aspect which fascinates me is how it has harmonized and integrated different existing concepts. Gita really epitomizes the Indian ethos of seeing unity in diversity. It incorporates practically all different major philosophical thoughts and weaves them into a single unified structure in which their apparent contradictions are dissolved and they begin to converge to the same ultimate goal, Brahma Vidya, Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. The Saguna and Nirguna forms of Brahma become unified and indistinct representatives of the same supreme being. Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. Sadasat Tat Param Yat, Yat Sannasad Uchyate. Dhyanen Atmani Pashyanti Kechid Atmanam Atmana Anye Sankhena Yogena Karma Yogena Chapare. And the Bhagavad-Gita unifies all major four paths popular in the prevailing tradition: Dhyan, meditation; Sankhya, Jnana Marg; Yoga Darshan, Karma Yoga, Mimamsa, and brings out their essential unity and lack of conflict. And this is done by very, very beautifully imparting new meaning, innovative interpretation to several key principles. For example, Mimamsa focuses on Karma Marg, and traditionally Karma was meant as performance of Yajna. Devato Deshena Dravyatyagah, offering of matter to certain deity. But Bhagavad Gita uses Yajna in a much broader sense. Yajno vai Vishnuhu. All actions performed without selfish desire, dedicated to the Almighty Paramatma, are called Yajna. Yajnarthat karmano, anyatra lokayam karma bandhanaha. Except for work done for the sake of Yajna or Vishnu, all other actions are creative of bondage. Thus, Yajna becomes synonymous with karma, action without desire, an ego of doership. Yajna karma samudbhavaha. This is a very powerful message regarding the dignity of labor and performance of one's assigned duty. Performance of Yajna also becomes a potent symbol of the spirit of collaboration between mankind and the divine powers, as well as the forces of nature and our mutually dependent, interconnected existence. Devan bhavayatayana anen ye deva bhavayantu yaha parasparam bhavayantah shreyah paramavapsyatha. Deities pleased with Yajna will also please you. अन्नात भवति भूतानि भवन्ति भूतानि परजन्यात अन्न समुद्भवः यज्ञात भवति परजन्यो यज्ञः कर्म समुद्भवः. All living beings subsist on food grains which are produced by rain. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. Thus, yajna is not materialistic sacrificial ritual, as Western Indologists and their Indian apologists would tell us, but manifestation of the fundamental belief of Indian rishis in collective adherence to a duty-based, duty-centric approach to ensure societal and universal well-being and peace and harmony. Nurturing this duty-centric collaborative spirit becomes so important today when the whole world is suffering from the consequences of obsession with maximalist right-based approach, securing for oneself all the rights without any concern for rights of others or own duties. Similarly, karma. The concept of karma assumes unprecedented profundity and significance in Gita. Probably the most powerful and transformative innovation of Gita is the concept of karma. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita karyate hyavashah karma sarvah prakriti jair gunaiha. Karma is the foundation of life. No living being can exist even a moment without doing something. Actions alone without lust or desire for fruitful outcome, they only don't create attachment and bondage to work. Performance of work wisely, skillfully, in a manner that does not cause bondage is yoga. Yoga karma sukhaushalam. And yoga of Gita is not really synonymous or identical to Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. It is essentially a practical action-oriented concept. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma phalatyagi prahustyagi vichakshanaha. Nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanyasheshatah yastu karma phalatyagi satyagi tyabidhiyate. Just to practice this karma yoga, karma phalatyag is needed. And to achieve this, one needs jnana, to know who is the real doer. And therefore, the jnana removes the ego of doership. Karatittu ke ahankar ka tyag. And also, one needs bhakti to perform duties with mind devoted, fixed in devotion to the Supreme Being, the Paramatman. To concentrate the fickle mind and senses on the divinity, dhyan, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, the practice of techniques of yoga, they are needed. But Gita is not for meditation or dhyan without devotion, Bhagwan Bhakti. Because devotion devoid of bhakti, yoga, dhyana yoga is merely bodily or physical exercise. So there is need for combining dhyan and bhakti. Thus, in Gita, bhakti yoga has been described as the Raj Vidya, सब विद्याओं का राजा, and Raj Guhya, समस्त रहस्यों का राजा, most superior knowledge and secret. The third aspect, which really significant, is that it is Gita's message and approach is very modern, scientific, logical. The message of Gita was voiced by the mouth of Lord Sri Krishna himself. But unlike other divine revelations, there are no commandments or orders. Gita does not demand blind faith, uncritical acceptance, or blind action. It is surprisingly modern, scientific, logical, rational in approach, in establishing an underlying cause and effect principle. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगः तेषूपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Thus, Kam and Krodh are all devouring, most sinful and real enemies. To control and subdue them, one's thoughts must be diverted from distracting sense objects and focused on Supreme Soul, so that one becomes a sthita prajna, sthita dhiha. And this can happen only through individual constant effort and practice, not through a divine miracle. There is no option but to accept individual responsibility for action and its consequences. Even when Sri Krishna wishes to reveal his Divya Virata Swarup to Arjun, the Parameshwar has to give Divya Chakshu, the divine eyes and divine vision, to Arjun, so that Arjun can see the mystic power. The act of seeing has to be done by Arjun himself. After explaining to Arjun his message and Brahma Vidya, again Krishna ultimately leaves it to Arjun himself to decide what he wished to do. Itite jnanamakhyatam guhyat guhya param maya vimrishyaited asheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. I have explained to you the most secret of the secret knowledge. Deliberate on it fully and do what you wish to do. As the psychologist Dr. Meghaji mentioned, in terms of the contemporary relevance and what modern significance Gita holds, I also think that one universal problem, rich or poor and wherever one is living, is the lack of mental peace and anxiety and stress in every individual. Gita shows us that mostly one suffers on account of issues which are not really worthy of grieving, because many times we grieve on things which are apariharya, inevitable. Both past and future are ashochyani. Yehi sansparshja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. All the pleasures born out of contact of senses, they are transient, they are bound to end, and therefore they will end in misery. And that is why the wise man is not clinging to those kind of transient pleasures. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam yatha tatha dehantara praptihi dhirah tatra na mohyati. You can't do anything about it. As body grows, from childhood you acquire adulthood, and same way there is a transition. There is nothing one can do. Avyktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka parivedana. Before the being is born, he or she is invisible, unmanifest, and only for a short period one is manifest, and after its demise again it becomes invisible. So the manifested part is only a small one. So we have to have that perspective. To free oneself from suffering and grief, one needs to pursue an enlightened path of knowledge, a sense of detachment and surrender to the Almighty. Buddhau sharanam anvicha kripanah phalahetavaha. Yoga mukto kurvannapi na lipyate. Gita does not call for escape or renunciation from the world, nor shunning of enjoyment, but advises balance and equanimity, samatva, mukta sanga, asakta, युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. One with regulated, controlled eating, recreation, work, sleeping can mitigate all materialistic pains through yoga. Apurnamal machala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kama yam pravishanti sarve sa shanti mapnoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by desires that flow like rivers into the ocean, always full but stable and still, can alone achieve peace, not the man who strives to satisfy those desires. And last point I want to mention is, which is extremely relevant for our contemporary society, is the treatment of non-believers. Gita admits that not everyone will believe him and not everyone will understand his message. Naham prakashah sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudhoyam nabhijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. Ye tu etat abhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matim sarvagyan vimudhan tan vidhi nashtan achetasah. Those who out of envy, disregard and don't follow my views are considered bereft of all knowledge and ruined without consciousness. They are ruined because of their actions, that the Almighty does not ruin them or condemn them to hellfire. Yepi अन्य देवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः ते अपि मामैव कौन्तेय yajante avidhi purvakam. Even those who are following other deities with devotion and reverence, they are also following me, even though they may be doing so inappropriately. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhaya architum yachati. Whatever means, by whatever means they want to pray anyone with devotion, tasya tasya achalam shraddham tamev vidadhamiyaham. I make sure that they get their devotion in the same thing, the objects that they pursue. And it is very clear that the Paramatman gives birth to all and does not distinguish whether one is believer or non-believer. Sambhavah sarva bhutanam aham bij pradah pita samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho asti na priyah. And also anyone can become yogi by practice. Asanshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. And this unification has been achieved by the concept of three gunas. Sattvam, rajas, tamaiti gunaha prakriti sambhavaha nibandhanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha eva cha pramadamo tamaso ajnanam eva cha. From the mode of good, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, raja, greed develops. From the mode of tama, ignorance, develops foolishness, madness, and illusion. And the both kinds, Daivi and Asuri Sampadam, Daivi Sampada Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Asuri Mata. अनेक चित्र विभ्रांता मोह जाल समावृताः प्रसक्ता काम भोगेषु पतन्ति नरकेषु चौ. Therefore, in Gita's vision, there is a progression, a continuous spectrum from Daivi to Asari and from Sata to Tama, depending on the relative proportion of these three Sataraj and Tam gunas. One can elevate oneself from Asuri to Daivi with conscious effort, or fall down from Daivi to Asuri due to inappropriate actions. There is no black and white division. There is no racial or permanent conflict, as the Western neurologists tell us about Aryan and Dravidian kind of racial conflict. There's no place for that in Gita. There's no place for hatred. There's a deeper understanding. There's oneness. There's ownness. That is the essence of Gita. Once again, my very sincere gratitude to Dr. Basava Reddy ji and his very dynamic team for hosting this wonderful event and giving me the honor of participating and listening to such great scholars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We are surprised the entire very short period of time. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence. Hope to meet you soon here or in Ireland.
Look forward to welcoming you, Dr. Sam.
Thank you. Arpit, over to Arpit.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It is really a very proud privilege and great moment to listen you, sir. It was very amazing for me to listen a top bureaucrat, diplomat, and technocrat who is speaking on the Bhagavad-Gita like in such amazing way. So it is very inspiring for us, sir, and our student. Definitely, they will get some message that everybody is following the teachings of Bhagavad-Gita. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. So now,
one small suggestion, Arpit.
Yes, sir.
Last time, so we have very eminent scholar like Kapil साहब आए थे, बहुत सारे विद्वान लोग आए थे गीता जयंती पर. इस साल भी आए. मैं चाहता हूं कि 2-2 पेज का इनका जो आज लेक्चर्स दिया है, सभी 5 स्कॉलर्स का 2-2, 3-3 पेज का एब्स्ट्रैक्ट बनाकर एक स्मॉल मोनोग्राफ टाइप, लास्ट साल का एक बनाए, इस साल का भी 20-25 पेजेस का मोनोग्राफ आता है. So then vetting it and post it on the media, social media, and also on our website, so that the message of Gita will go to the various sections of the society, and we can promote that. One is this electronic media, and another one is don't deny the importance of print media. So therefore, my suggestion for Vandana and Arpit today is just summarize in a 1 week time before this month. Try to publish both these things in a monograph form, so that it will be documented and we can keep it in our library. Thank you. I hope so. You will do that. So yes, you can ask the speakers also for their write-ups. Just 3-4 pages, not too lengthy. Nowadays, people will not spend time to read lengthy books, very short, brief content. Then we can give the reference books or something. If there anybody is interested, they can refer the relevant books or their portions. My humble suggestions. And I do hope that every year you are coming up with a small monograph. And after 30 years, when you become Vice Chancellor, Arpit, and you will be very proud to look back all these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Definitely, I am already working on this, and definitely within month we will publish a monograph on this, all the lecture, because these are very inspiring and very enlightening for us. So now moving ahead, now I would like to invite Dr. Vandana Singh, Assistant Professor Hindi in Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, for vote of thanks. Dr. Vandana ji, over.
धन्यवाद सर. मोरारजी देसाई राष्ट्रीय योग संस्थान के द्वारा गीता जयंती के अवसर पर आयोजित इस राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन में उपस्थित सभी आमंत्रित विद्वानों और प्रतिभागियों को मेरा सादर प्रणाम. मुझे इस कार्यक्रम में औपचारिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापन का उत्तरदायित्व सौंपा गया है. जिसका निर्वहन करते हुए सर्वप्रथम मैं मुरारजी देसाई राष्ट्रीय योग संस्थान और स्वयं अपनी ओर से आयरलैंड में भारत के राजदूत तथा इस राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन के मुख्य अतिथि परम आदरणीय श्री अखिलेश मिश्रा जी के प्रति हार्दिक कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करती हूँ, जिन्होंने हमारा आमंत्रण स्वीकार किया तथा हमारे बीच पधार कर हमें अनुग्रहित किया, जिससे उनके विद्वतापूर्ण वक्तव्य को सुनने का सुअवसर हमें मिला। अपने व्यस्त कार्य दिवस में से हमारे लिए समय निकालने के लिए और हमारे बीच आने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। यह हमारा सौभाग्य है कि हमें संस्कृत उच्च अध्ययन केंद्र पुणे विश्वविद्यालय के पूर्व निदेशक तथा कार्यक्रम के मुख्य वक्ता परम आदरणीय प्रोफेसर वीएन झा जी को सुनने का अवसर मिला, जिन्होंने जीवन की परंपरा गीता में मनोविज्ञान के कुछ अनछुए पहलुओं को उजागर किया, जिसके लिए उनके प्रति हम हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करते हैं। आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। हालांकि सर की कुछ व्यस्तताएं थी, जिसके कारण वह कुछ समय पहले ही इस कार्यक्रम से जा चुके हैं। आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। इस कार्यक्रम में कोर टेक्निक्स ऑफ द भगवद गीता इनसाइट्स फ्रॉम श्री अरबिंदो पर हमारे प्रतिभागियों को व्याख्यान देने के लिए आदरणीय प्रोफेसर संपदानंद मिश्र जी के प्रति भी हम हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करते हैं, जिन्होंने श्री अरबिंदो की शिक्षाओं के आलोक में भगवद गीता को पढ़ने, समझने और आत्मसात करने की एक नव दृष्टि हमारे साथ साझा की। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। इसके साथ ही लेडी श्रीराम कॉलेज फॉर वुमेन दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय में के सहायक आचार्य डॉक्टर मेघा ढिल्लन जी, जिन्होंने द रिलेवेंस ऑफ भगवद गीता फॉर कंटेम्प्रेरी साइकोलॉजी विषय पर हमारे प्रतिभागियों को जो जानकारी दी, उसके लिए हम उनके प्रति हार्दिक कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करते हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैडम। फिलॉसफी एंड प्रैक्टिसेस ऑफ भगवद गीता इट्स मॉडर्न रेलेवेंस विषय पर हमारे दर्शकों को इतना सुंदर व्याख्यान देने के लिए हम पंजाब यूनिवर्सिटी चंडीगढ़ के आचार्य और हमारे आमंत्रित वक्ता आदरणीय प्रोफेसर नरसिंह चरण पांडा जी के प्रति भी हार्दिक आभारी हैं। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। आपको सुनने का अवसर हमें पहले भी मिल चुका है, पुनः आपने हमारा सम्मान बढ़ाया, हमारे बीच आए, इसलिए आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। इस आयोजन के मार्गदर्शक मुरारजी देसाई राष्ट्रीय योग संस्थान के निदेशक आदरणीय डॉक्टर ईश्वर वी बसव रेड्डी जी के प्रति हम हार्दिक कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करते हैं, जो उन्होंने अपनी व्यस्तताओं के बावजूद हमारे बीच पधार कर हमारा मार्गदर्शन किया, जिनकी ऊर्जा, प्रेरणा और मार्गदर्शन के कारण ही इस कार्यक्रम का आयोजन संभव हो सका। आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। इस कार्यक्रम में आगमन हेतु आप सभी विद्वानों का पुनः कोटिशः धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। इस कार्यक्रम के सफल संयोजन हेतु मैं अपने सहकर्मी डॉक्टर अर्पित कुमार दुबे के प्रति भी हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करती हूँ, जिनके सफल संयोजन के कारण हमें इतने विद्वानों को सुनने का सुअवसर मिल सका। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। संस्थान में मेरे अन्य सहकर्मी डॉक्टर खुशबू जैन जी, श्रीमती सीमा सागर जी, हमारी तकनीकी टीम और इस कार्यक्रम में प्रत्यक्ष एवं अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से सहयोग देने वाले सभी सहयोगी जन के प्रति मैं हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करती हूँ और हमारे साथ जुड़ने वाले सभी दर्शकों के प्रति भी हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करती हूँ। अंत में आप सभी को गीता जयंती की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। अब संस्थान की परंपरा के अनुसार कार्यक्रम का समापन शांति पाठ के साथ। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शांति शांति। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सभी का। धन्यवाद।
आप सबको धन्यवाद, प्रणाम। और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि हम लोग डब्लिन में आप लोगों का स्वागत करने का अवसर मिलेगा।
सर नमस्कार।
जी जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बहुत आपका
प्रणाम सर।
प्रणाम।
थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
जय हिंद, जय हिंद।